skies above. Don't fence me in. Let me ride through the wide open country that I love. Don't fence me in. Let me be by myself in the evening breeze. Listen to the murmur of the cottonwood trees. Send me off forever, but I ask you please. Don't fence me in. Don't fence me in. Just turn me loose. Let me straddle my old saddle underneath the western skies. On my cayuse, let me wander over yonder till I see the mountains rise. I want to ride to the
Good morning and happy Tuesday to you. Judge Napolitano is going to be in just a little bit. Yes, he is. 7:20. Topic's going to be John Dean. Oh, yeah. Hey, listen. This is one of those things where I guess if Republicans had a chance to do something like this, maybe they would, where you conjure up the dead body of John Dean, the skeleton of John Dean, to humiliate the President of the United States. Because keep in mind, John Dean, well, I'll tell you about it in a little bit, because I want to let you know there's a Republican out there with balls, apparently. This Congressman Gates or whatever his name is. I've never seen the guy before. But he's a Republican. He comes out of the woodwork, and he directly confronts John Dean, who's appearing before, obviously, this House Judiciary Committee, which really is just the cast of Cocoon. They're just a bunch of old, washed up. I think Maxine Waters is on there. I think Steve Cohen is on there. I think it's the same one. I don't know. I can't keep these people straight. But of course you're going to dangle the bones of John Dean around because John Dean loves to talk about Watergate. And John Dean was obviously involved in Watergate and was convicted of a felony in Watergate and didn't, well, I'll tell you about that in a second too. And I've had the privilege, by the way, of having interviewed John Dean once, and that mother hung up on me. And he hung up on me. Hold on a second here. He hung up on me because I challenged him, like this guy is doing in the committee, about what his motivations are. Every time he turns around trying to compare things to Watergate all the time. And of course, John Dean has a vested interest in calling everything worse than Watergate. Wouldn't you, if you were involved in Watergate? Oh, yeah, that's worse than Watergate. It's like, it is? Yeah. Well, don't you kind of have to make it that way in order to feel good about yourself and die happy? That's what John Dean's problem is. And not only that, John Dean is a punk. He's a snitch. And he committed a crime, and they're all fact-checking Donald Trump right now because Donald Trump said this about John Dean on this.
That there's a secret immigration deal. Do you have a reaction to
John
that?
Dean's testimony?
Have you been watching it?
Look, John Dean's been a loser for many years, so I've been watching him on one of the networks that is not exactly Trump-oriented, and I guess they paid him a lot of money over the years. No, John's been a loser for a long time. We know that. I think he was disbarred, and he went to prison. Other than that, he's doing a great job.
Yeah, and President Trump's wrong about him going to prison because that's precisely the point. John Dean didn't go to prison because he turned state's evidence on the Nixon administration. And some might say, of course, that makes him a person with values, and I get it. I mean, he did help the country defeat a man who obviously committed a crime, and Nixon is not a good guy as it relates to Watergate. I do happen to believe that had Nixon just come out and said, you know what? Yeah, I did this, and damn it, I thought I was helping us, and I had, because he had nothing to do with the break-in. Richard Nixon had nothing to do with the Watergate break-in, didn't even know about it. And the problem is when he found out about it, he covered it up. That was the problem. And so had Nixon just come out and said, yeah, I know, but I just, I covered it up and I did lie, and I'm sorry. I guarantee you he would never have been run out of office. Of course, he was also run out of office because the economy wasn't doing very well, and there were some problems anyway. And so it wasn't nearly the kind of environment that President Trump exists in right now. And there is some very good economic news I'm going to pass your way. But nonetheless, John Dean is not, I believe, a hero by any stretch of the imagination. And he is this snivelly little nerd who wound up knowing he was going to be in trouble, and so he dumped on everybody else. So this guy on the Judiciary Committee, Representative Getz, decides that he's going to go after John Dean while he's on the floor there, while he's testifying. And I think actually that his name is Gates, but his name is but Matt Gates. But imagine though, this is a Republican, and we haven't heard from Republicans, have we, on pretty much anything except when they're against the president, right? So this guy John Gates, and you can take issue with whatever it is he's doing in terms of the floor here, but it's about time somebody finally took John Dean to task.
Unanimous consent to enter into the record a December 30th, 2005 essay written by Mr. John Dean entitled George W. Bush as the New Richard Nixon, both wiretapped illegally and impeachably.
So you can get where John Gates is going here. And he's going to establish that really what John Dean is a prostitute. And he'll tell anyone is worse than Richard Nixon or worse than Watergate as long as they pay him. And that's exactly what this harpy does. And by the way, keep in mind, I don't blame the Democrats for doing this. I mean, they don't have anything. So what they have to have is insinuation. And the media loves insinuation anyway if they already hate Donald Trump. So this is really easy. I mean, hell, I'd do it if I were them. But you got to have people who fight them at the same time. You can't just allow this pageantry, this theater to happen. And even some people in the mainstream media, the liberal media, said it was theater. They didn't like it either. But nonetheless, that's what I mean, you got a guy, this chicken choker Cohen, who eats fried chicken you got a gang of Star Wars bar characters here. Of course they're going to bring in John Dean. But yeah, so if I'm them, I'm doing it because he's the great skeleton everybody can dangle around President Trump's neck. But you see where Gates is going here.
Without objection.
Mr. Dean, how many American presidents have you accused of being Richard Nixon?
I actually wrote a book about Mr. Bush and Mr. Cheney with the title Worse Than Watergate.
Yeah, everybody's laughing, but he's an ass. I don't know who's laughing at this guy because Gates just proved his point. John Dean will tell anybody and anyone as he runs to his deathbed that everything is worse than Watergate. It has to be for John Dean's legacy to actually not be smeared the way it is right now. So you got to call it worse than Watergate. But yeah, I interviewed him about that book. Maxie, were you producing the show then?
I believe so, yeah.
Because we had John Dean on about this Worse Than Watergate book, and I asked him the very question. I said, "Why don't you have a vested interest in calling this Worse Than Watergate? Because Watergate was the worst, and you've got to kind of wiggle out of it." And he hung up on me.
Yeah, he didn't like that at all.
Yeah, he hung up on me. God, I wish I had that tape. It'd be great. So he's been doing this crap for heaven knows how long. But yeah, he hung right up on me.
So it's sort of become a cottage. Did you make money on that book?
It was a very successful book,
How much
yes.
money did you make on it?
I'm sorry, I don't have any idea.
More than $1 million?
No.
More than $500,000?
I said I don't have any idea.
How much money do you make from CNN?
I don't really know exactly.
I think I'm going to object to
Wait a second. Mr. Dean has made a cottage industry out of accusing presidents of acting like Richard Nixon.
Look, a Republican with balls. Can you believe it? We have to rely on like some guy who's like 27 to pick up the ball here for us.
I'd like to know how much money he makes based on making these accusations and exploiting them for his own economic benefit. And you're saying that's
Mr. Gates, Mr. Gates, I appreciate you were not born at the time this all happened. It's not by choice that I've done a lot of.
By the way, what difference does that make? And John Dean probably benefits by the fact that Gates wasn't born when this all happened, because John Dean would be even more of a despicable character to this guy than maybe he is. Because right now, the only thing Gates knows about John Dean is what he's been able to read. But to see his jackassery in full glory back then would have made this even more vicious contact. And by the way, what is this, the View? This is a House Judiciary Committee hearing, and you've got everybody kind of just hooting and hollering the whole time. I mean, does Nadler, when he's not eating oranges to keep from stroking out, does he have a gavel he can use on the people who are all clapping and doing whatever they're doing in there? That sounds like a monkey house in there.
It's and I've been dragged into it.
Who forced you
dragged
to
into it? Love that.
Accuse George W. Bush of being Richard Nixon?
Who forced me to? It was right after I had spent 10 years in a lawsuit knocking down false statements about what my role had and hadn't been.
Well, let's speak now to the truth or falsity of statements. Do you have personal knowledge regarding the truth or falsity of a single material fact in the Mueller report?
I think if you recall, the first thing I said, I'm not here as a fact witness.
You're here to...
Then why are you here? And precisely, John Dean is forced by Gates to admit he's really only there for show. He's really only there to kind of just be well, Gates puts it perfectly here. I'll let him say it. I'm not going to take his joke away, but he's admitting he has no useful purpose here except to insinuate and smear. He has no useful purpose. Just admitted it.
Historical context.
Exactly.
And throughout history, you accuse presidents of acting like Richard Nixon, and you make money off of it, right?
Not all presidents, no.
No, but a few more than one.
Those who do act like him, I pointed out.
Let me ask you this question. How do Democrats plan to pay for Medicare for all?
I'm sorry?
Well, I figured if we were going to ask you about stuff you don't know about, we'd start with the big stuff. So do you know how they plan to pay for Medicare for all?
Who? The Democrats, or which candidate, or can you be more specific?
Let's get specific to Nixon, since that appears to be why you're here. Do you believe...
Well, actually, Nixon did have a health care plan.
Good. Well, do you believe if we turned the lights off here and maybe lit some candles, got out a Ouija board, we could potentially raise the specter of Richard Nixon?
I doubt that.
Well, it seems to be the objective. You know, here we sit today in this hearing with the ghost of Christmas past because the chairman of the committee has gone to the Speaker of the House and sought permission to open an impeachment inquiry. But she has said no. And so instead of opening the impeachment inquiry into Donald Trump, which is what the chairman wants to do and what I presume a majority of Democrats want to do, we're here reopening the impeachment inquiry potentially into Richard Nixon, sort of playing out our own version of that 70s show. And what I really regret...
It is striking, Mr. Gates.
And this guy is good, too. I mean, even though John Dean has a certain element of people there who are there just to kind of prop him up and laugh at all his dumb jokes, he's getting his ass kicked right here. And rightfully so. And this is what this is theater. And he, as Gates points out, this is the ghost of Christmas past. I mean, I love it. That 70s show, I mean, he's got more to come here. But that's what we saw yesterday. And again, that's because the Democrats have to have a fictitious kind of scandal going on when they didn't get the real scandal they wanted. They have to create one. And John Dean's the perfect pole dancer for them because he'll say anything for money, particularly that somebody's worse than Nixon or worse than Watergate. So we'll talk more about that, and your phone calls are welcome. The calltammy.com real estate listener lines, 844-855-1380. And plus, ladies and gentlemen, we also have some amazing economic news. I know you heard Mark Kaysen yesterday blathering on about manufacturing levels or whatever it happens to be, but the things that are really mattering to people's pocketbooks right now are, in fact, improving greatly. So we'll follow up on that. And also, what is it about? Have you guys been paying attention to this NBA playoff thing? Oh, because it's the number one story on Drudge is the Raptors story. And I can't even, and it's Drake and it's Raptors and it's the 76ers. And it's like, I don't get it. But I do know why we don't have a basketball team in St. Louis. And it very likely will be because of the Blues. But that's okay. I'll talk more about that as well. Now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem.
From the Arrowhead Building Supply Studio, this is Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer. Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Well, we're still accident-free and delay-free at this hour. The only thing we're looking at is construction and flooding. That pretty much sums up the spring so far. We've got midday road work coming up today, 9 to 3. You'll see construction on eastbound and westbound 6440 on the Boone Bridge. Of course, the Dorset Midland Bridge over Lindbergh is closed with road work until the end of August. And flooding is a problem in St. Louis, too, at Marine Avenue, both directions between Dorset and Maryland Heights Expressway closed. Traffic is sponsored by Napa Auto Parts. This month at Napa Auto Parts stores, get $25 or more off brand new DeWalt power tools by trading in your old ones. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how. At participating Napa Auto Parts stores. While supplies last, offer ends June 30th. I'm Bonnie Green with your St. Louis Metro traffic on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
Yeah, we're here. I'm here. And what? I'm here. Don't worry about it. I'm just watching a dog on KSDK. I'm sorry. Hey, Tammy Mitchell-Hines. Let me tell you something about Tammy Mitchell-Hines and company. I really love the fact that when I first met Tammy and I talked to her, went out to her Columbia office there. She's the number one independent real estate agent in southwestern Illinois. And I went to her office. Her office is great, by the way. It has all of her personality there. And she's a cowgirl. She's got her little steer horns that are these pewter steel horns in her office. And I mean, you know, she's got it going on out there. She's a very vivacious, very passionate, very energetic about what she does. But she takes great care of her employees, too, her real estate agents. And I don't even think she calls them employees, but she does partners. That's why when I first went on the air talking about Tammy, I called Tammy Mitchell-Hines. And she goes, no, make sure you say Tammy Mitchell-Hines and company, because her people are really super important to her. She takes really good care of them. She gets them cars to drive in, do their work in. She pays for the gas. She pays for the insurance, all that kind of stuff. And she does it so they only have to focus on the good things, on you selling your home, getting you into a home that you love, your dream home, whatever it happens to be. That's why every 30 hours, Tammy Mitchell Hines and Company is selling a home. She also throws in a moving van for all of the work. Doesn't matter whether you're moving or whether you're buying and moving in, moving out. She has a moving van available to you, and lots of people have copied it. That's a good thing. Tammy Mitchell Hines and Company also is, again, an independent real estate agency, so no one is telling them what to do. There's no main spaceship all directing them as to what they can and cannot do. So they've got wiggle room. They can move. They can make things happen. They can make things work. They can be flexible, whatever, and they don't have somebody to just they could do plausible deniability with you. Like, oh, my company said they can't do this. Nope, it's all Tammy Mitchell Hines and Company all the time. Check it out on the web, Tammy.com. That's Tammy.com.
If you're worried about your cholesterol, hear how others are taking charge with garlic.
My doctor said my cholesterol was borderline, but I've been taking garlic, and it works.
I've been taking garlic for years.
My pharmacist recommended garlic. He said there's an ingredient in garlic that helps maintain healthy cholesterol.
I take garlic every day. No garlic breath. Lots of people like you are choosing garlic to help maintain a healthy cholesterol. Garlic, it's cholesterol's natural enemy. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
Dad, what are you doing?
Cramming for college.
I'm the one going to college.
Yeah, but we need to figure out how we're going to pay for it all.
Discover Student Loans.
Discover does student loans?
Yeah, they're one of the top private student loan lenders in the country. It takes 15 minutes or less to apply, and there are no fees for the life of the loan. Best of all, I can earn cash rewards if I get good grades.
Really?
Yeah, we still have time to apply and get a great rate.
So I can just chill. College kids still say that, right?
No one says that, Dad.
Really?
Yeah.
Visit discoverstudentloans.com to apply today. Limitations apply.
Hey, don't just listen to Allman in the Morning. See the show at theanswerstl.com. Now, more Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Yeah, I figured since we were all back in that 70s show again and the John Dean show, we'd play a little 70s music for you. Why not, ladies and gents? All right, as I said, Judge Napolitano is going to be joining us in just a little bit, and then we're going to have him tell us what this is going to mean, and my presumption is he's just going to say that it means nothing and that there's no legal ramification here. But here's the bad news. There's no legal ramifications here, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in this country what is legal or not legal. It just matters what you say and get away with. So whether or not Donald Trump is corrupt doesn't really matter, because if he's not, all you have to do is say he is, and you've got the entirety of the news media and an entire American political party behind you. So that's the world we live in now, where the truth really doesn't matter. Look what happened with Jussie Smollett. By the way, Phil texted me yesterday. He goes, man, I didn't believe, was it yesterday? I didn't believe you when you said we'd never hear from Jussie Smollett again, and we didn't. He's not in jail. He's not anything. And it didn't matter whether what happened to him was a total lie. You had every panel discussion on cable news talking about racism in America and how racist Trump supporters are. And it didn't matter whether or not that was a fake story. Because everybody's like, yeah, but you know what? The overriding point is blah, blah, blah. So it didn't matter. So right now, if you're smart, you can throw things out there, and whether they're true or not, it really doesn't matter. It didn't matter whether or not I threatened to sexually assault David Hogg, which didn't happen. But if you just say I did, you can get people fired. That's the world we live in now. And that's why we need people like Representative Gates, who's a Republican with some stones. We need to fight back on these people. And then, after the fight is over and they're hobbled, we need to chase them down and finish them off. 844-855-1380. Call Tammy.com.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. President Trump will travel to Iowa today, visiting a renewable energy facility in Council Bluffs. Democratic presidential hopeful Joe Biden will also be in Iowa. Hackers have targeted U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Apparently, they made off with some data. The National Transportation Safety Board getting involved in the investigation of yesterday's rooftop helicopter crash in Midtown Manhattan. The pilot, the only person on board the helicopter, was killed. David Ortiz, now hospitalized in Boston. The former Red Sox slugger undergoing treatment for wounds he suffered when he was ambushed by a gunman in a nightclub in the Dominican Republic Sunday night. On Wall Street, Dow futures 90 points higher. NASDAQ futures are up 44 points. S&P futures better by 12 points. More details at srnnews.com.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
170 southbound has been closed between 270 and Hanley because of a crash, so avoid that. Northbound is slow 70 to Hanley. Our City Expressway south of Creve Coeur Mill, we got a crash that's blocking a large chunk of the roadway, but part of it is open. Westbound 64 is heavy Lindbergh to 270. Eastbound got slowing from Clarkson Olive to Ballas, 170 to Big Bend and Market to the Poplar. On 44 East, you're slow between 141 and 270. Also, Vandevetter to Grand. Westbound's got crowding Hampton to Shrewsbury and Lindbergh to Bowles. Northbound 55 is slow between A and McNutt. Traffic update sponsored by Napa Auto Parts.
This month at Napa Auto Parts stores, get $25 or more off brand new DeWalt power tools by trading in your old ones. Quality parts, helpful people, that's Napa know-how at participating Napa Auto Parts stores. While supplies last, offer ends June 30th.
I'm Deb Snyder with your St. Louis Metro traffic on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
1380 The Answer. Weather.
It'll be pleasant today with mostly sunny skies and a high of 83. We'll have increasing clouds tonight, the low 63. It'll be mostly cloudy tomorrow and cooler with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm, the high 73. Mainly clear and cooler tomorrow night, the low 56. Partly sunny skies expected for Thursday. It'll be pleasant with a high of 75. I'm Drew Shannon with your St. Louis Metro forecast on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
Chuck Woolery here for Blue Emu. How many pain relief ads do you hear daily? 5, 10, 15? And of course, all of them claim their new ingredient or their new formula will help. Blue Emu has maintained the same quality year after year and continues to be the #1 branded emu oil product. So don't trust hype. Trust Blue Emu to support healthy muscles and joints. Choose Blue Emu pain relief products. They work fast and you won't stink.
Available at retailers nationwide.
Business owners, self-employed, part-time employees, are you struggling to pay your bills because you no longer can afford your health insurance? Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. With Obamacare premiums skyrocketing, higher deductibles, and shrinking networks, let me introduce you to Dryden Camus Insurance Agency as the answer, the solution. Dryden Camus Insurance Agency has non-Obamacare ACA-compliant plans that do not fund abortion. There's no enrollment period, and you don't have to pay for expensive extras like pediatric dentistry or maternity care. Contact Joyce at Dryden Camus Insurance Agency and start saving up to 60%. Call 877-695-0245. That's 877-695-0245, or just go to kddi-ins.com. Cut through the confusion and save money with Dryden Camus Insurance Agency, serving Missouri and Illinois. This is the answer. This is the solution. Dryden Camus Insurance Agency. Just go to kddi-ins.com.
Listen to Allman in the Morning with Alexa. Wake up and say, Alexa, play The Answer St. Louis. Now, back to Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
I know I can count on you. Sometimes I feel like saying, Lord, I just don't care. But you've got the love I need to see me through. Sometimes it seems the going is just too rough.
Actually, it's too bad we don't have the access to our old tapes. We'd be able to dig that up in 1 second. The John Dean hang-up on me when I challenged him the same way this Gates guy did. But you know what? It's better on the public stage. I don't think this really made any newscast at all. Maybe a little bit. Probably the bit where Gates was made fun of because he wasn't born when John Dean was committing his crimes. That probably made the news. I didn't watch it, so I don't know. But there were other people, though, too, who were, even Andrea Mitchell thought that this was just theatrical. But again, that's an observation that doesn't have any teeth to it because you call it theatrical. But that's what all this is anyway. We've had 22 months of theater. And right now, as long as the media and leading Democrats say something is so, it's so. I mean, how many people, even after the Mueller investigation, still believe in Russia collusion? We're in a realm now where it's exponentially crazier than it was during Obama. Back in those days, we had a few people on our side in the conservative wing who were, he's Kenyan, and maybe just like a few people who were kind of promoting this idea. He's a secret Muslim. And you remember those days? I mean, there were only a few people like on Facebook who ultimately we had to unfriend because every day there was something about Barack Obama's history or some picture with some woman with a basket on her head saying, this is Barack Obama's aunt. It's like, okay, I get it. But now, imagine, this has been installed in the institution of the Democratic Party. This weirdness, this fantasy, these people who are just making stuff up. And they hate this guy. And part of it is because I think America, unfortunately, has gotten to the point where success makes a lot of people jealous. And they can't handle Trump's personality. They just can't do it. I mean, all these people in Hollywood and stuff, they can't, and the media, they can't tolerate somebody who actually is more popular than they are. You realize this is kind of the point. President Trump got elected when the media and Hollywood and Democrats and even some Republicans all told us not to elect him. That pisses people off. That makes them feel weak. And when people feel weak, that's when they start the bullying. When they are intimidated and when they are insecure, that's when they start. But keep in mind, we make those people so angry because we didn't listen to them. It drives them nuts. I mean, Chris Steyerwalt, if he had his way over there at Fox News, I remember him filling in for Brian Kilmeade. Steyerwalt had nothing but disdain for you. He'd have you on the air, and if you called into the show or whatever else, he'd mock you and tell you were just, a middle earther with grievances. That's how he would describe it. But these people don't like you. You need to listen, and they can't get their hands around you. They don't understand, so they have to attack the person you elected. They have to get on him for tweets and stuff like that because it's nothing. It's kind of what terrorists do, or the mob. They always try to the people they don't like. They try to kill and hurt people close to them, so they can scare you. They can put you in line, get you back in line. And boy, I'll tell you what, these people desperately want you back in line. That's why George Will is running around out there talking about how illegal immigration is entrepreneurial and shame on you, racists. It's crazy. He was on another show. I'm kind of sick of replaying George Will things, but we ought to actually Maxie, let's get him on the air too. We got a couple people we need to get on the air so I can fight with them.
Absolutely.
George Will. And Jim Acosta has his new book out, aptly titled Enemy of the People. It didn't even have quotation marks around it. It's so funny. I wonder if there was a mistake or there was some. I'm going to ask him if he's on with us. It'd be great to have him on, though. And who else are we going to get on to fight with? Somebody else who had a book out. I can't remember. I wish Barack Obama would write a book. Then we'd get him on the air. I'd interview him like this. Hey, former President Obama, welcome to the show. See what he says. Maybe I wouldn't do that. I'd have to have some degree of respect. I don't want to do that, but nonetheless. So anyway, your president, by the way, and his economy, which is your economy now, here's from the Labor Department. The number of people hired rose to 5.9 million in April, the highest level since the Labor Department began tracking new hires. I don't know when that was, but it wasn't recently. The increase in the number of hires came almost entirely from the private sector. Now, keep in mind, during President Obama's reign, the largest growth sector in jobs in the country was in government. I'm not kidding you. Now, we have the largest growth sector in the private sector, which is where it belongs. Because job growth in the public sector, in government, means we're paying these people. And we don't want to pay any more people. So the private sector saw the largest amount of growth, increased hiring by 217,000 for the month. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of new hires, 217. I mean, I guess in the scheme of things, when you look at job growth, like if 217,000 people were unemployed, it'd be the number one item on the news. Government hiring was little changed for this month. The total number of job openings rose to higher than expected, 7.4 million. That's 7.4 million job openings. That's a sign that businesses are growing, that businesses are expanding, that people are starting to expand. They have confidence now in the economy. They're growing. I mean, look at what my guys over at Arrowhead Building Supply are doing, where they're building this gigantic 7,000 square foot showroom. They created another business, the trucking business. Discovery Design. They have a whole new business. And so people are growing. Right now, I have to tell you, too, and I'll have to check in with my guys at Banner about this, and maybe you guys know a little bit about this if you've tried to call anybody. Have you tried to call anybody to do work on your house? Have you? I had a buddy who they referred me to Arrowhead just to repair a fence, and I know Banner does fencing, but I didn't need a brand new fence. But I referred them over to Banner and over to this other guy, and everybody, when you call them, they can't get to you for a little bit. In fact, the one private guy who does kind of private fencing, whatever it happens to be, said he can't get to my brother-in-law until August. And he joked. He says, "Yeah, in this terrible Trump economy, I don't have any time." And it's true. These guys, if you've asked anybody to come out and do work for you, maybe that's changed, but people can't get out to you for 2 months. They've got so much work going on because people are starting to spend money and do things and expand and that kind of thing. Openings continue to outnumber unemployed people, which is the way it should be. And that has never been the way it should be, the way it is since the Labor Department started tracking these numbers. The number of people classified as unemployed fell by 387,000. So there are about 1.6 million more jobs than unemployed people in the U.S. That's a good number. I don't know what Cation was talking about regarding manufacturing the lowest in 9 years or whatever the hell it was talking about. This kind of stuff matters, though. I've already told you about wages and the continued increase in wages, especially in the blue-collar sector, surpassing the white-collar sector. And then you have this number where there are about 1.6 million more jobs than unemployed people in the U.S. That's good. That's a good sign. And this is where you see this. This is where in an elevator you can talk to somebody and they'll tell you, they'll vouch for this number. Try standing in an elevator. Well, nobody talks to people in elevators anymore, but they got to hit their phones right away. But I do. But anyway, they could say, but if you ask them like, hey, what do you think about manufacturing levels in the U.S.? They're like, I don't know. What are you talking about? And then they think you're trying to rob them, and they pull a gun on you. So don't do that. But nonetheless, if you ask them about jobs, they're like, yeah, my uncle just got a new job, or my husband just got a new job, or my wife just got a new job, or my brother's business just expanded. They'll tell you all those stories. But unless you're Mark Kaysen glued to Bloomberg, you're not going to get the real story. The manufacturing sector shows no signs of trade-induced stress, which, of course, we already knew that because we don't see signs of trade-induced stress. I mean, yeah, did we go through a week where we kept seeing crates of avocados on the network news? Yeah. Every time you turned around, there's always an avocado on the news. Because they're trying to tell you that, the Mexico trade deal is going to be tariff deal is going to be a disaster. So here, look at this avocado. It's like, I don't even buy avocados. Oh, I buy ones from California. Oh. But yeah, they kept showing avocados all day long and maybe a tomato here and there. But we never really saw what the impact of the trade war really is. We still don't know. I think somebody was telling me the other day that they're at the dollar store and somebody was saying, somebody was like worried that things wouldn't be $1 anymore because of the trade deal. And the person was saying, I can't remember who this was. Yeah, I do. Yeah, people tell me stories about the dollar store. Yeah. Do they tell you stories about it? I don't know. I don't know where I heard this, but it was somebody I know who told me I was just at the dollar store and somebody was. And so people are just thinking things are going to change. And by the way, as far as I know, I think things at the dollar store aren't always $1 anyway. Is that correct? Is that right? Nobody's admitting they go to the dollar store. Oh, I don't know. I have no idea. Why would I be at the dollar store? What do you think I look like? Like, well, no, people do go to the dollar. I mean, normal people go to the dollar store. And let me tell you something. Wealthy people go to the dollar store. That's why they're still wealthy. That's how that whole thing works. But everybody's like diving. Dollar store, no. Never set foot in the place. Or Walmart. I go to Walmart, but it smells like rubber and popcorn. Mine does. Anyway, the manufacturing sector shows no signs of trade-induced stress. Job openings in manufacturing climbed to 501,000, up from 460 the prior month. So where is this Kaysen manufacturing lowest levels in 9 years thing going? Because I know that 40,000 people from last month to this month are now employed in the manufacturing sector, or openings. Where they can fill them, I don't know. The April a year ago, there were 451 manufacturing job openings. Job openings in durable good manufacturing, a sector that was Trump's critics said would be hit by metals tariffs. I'm talking about people making refrigerators and ovens and stuff like that. Job openings in durable good manufacturing, where they said the tariffs would have the most impact, were down 1,000 jobs to 304 from March, but these are up considerably from a year ago. So if you bear with me, I know all of this sounds so like minutia, but it's really not. This is important. These are important numbers here. So last year, there were 288,000 job openings in durable good manufacturing. To this date, this year now, there are 304,000 from March to March. So That's an increase in about 20,000 job openings in the manufacturing segment. That's even though we have a trade war going on with China. So whatever they're telling you about increase in prices and all that kind of stuff doesn't seem to be having an impact at all. If there are increases in price, I don't know. Nobody's saying anything. You know, I really don't want to have to go to Best Buy and start charting microwave oven sales. I mean, that's what I'm hoping the media will do, or somebody will tell me. Has anybody stepped up and shown me an actual price increase as a result of the tariffs? And maybe I'm not looking hard enough or whatever. I have not seen an actual price increase as a result of the tariffs or the trade war. Not one. And certainly we haven't seen jobs being depleted by it. So where is the info? Where they can't show us avocados and tomatoes anymore because that's all done. So show us where the prices. Stop telling us the prices are going to increase and how bad it's going to be when you don't have any information or anything behind you to prove it. It doesn't. I mean, I'm not seeing it. Now, maybe some of you guys are. I would guarantee you, some of you who deal with metals, and I know people who, you know, get steel plumbing fixtures or whatever, have them made in China or whatever. That might have an impact on people. I'd like to hear from you if you're seeing that. But so far, as it relates to just everyday average consumers, things are not seemingly the way they told us they were going to be. What a surprise. The calltammy.com real estate listener lines, 844-855-1380. It's Common Sense Radio.
More Allman in the Morning coming up on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer. Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Well, we're only looking at one delay right now, and it's a small one. 270 northbound is starting to tighten up Big Bend to Manchester, and everything else clear in that regard. We're accident-free. Still a lot of flooding. It's in all kinds of places in River de Pere, O'Fallon, St. Charles County, Barnhart, and it's in the city. St. Louis, Marine Avenue closed both ways between Dorset and Maryland Heights Expressway. Riverview Drive closed both ways between Hall and 270 with flooding as well. Traffic is sponsored by Napa Auto Parts. Right now at Napa Auto Care Centers, when you spend $250 on Napa brake parts, you can get a $75 prepaid Visa card. Quality parts installed by the pros. That's Napa know-how. At participating Napa Auto Care Centers, exclusions apply. Offer ends June 30th. I'm Bonnie Green with your St. Louis Metro traffic on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
All right, friends, the MyPillow deal goes thusly. You're getting 2 pillows for $70, and it's a great deal. $35 a pillow. And these pillows are amazing. They last forever, seemingly. That's no guarantee, obviously, but they last forever. At least mine has. And they are sleeping coolly no matter what side of the pillow you happen to be on. And Mike Lindell and his team have amassed a great bevy of technological advances that make these pillows just so amazing. You're going to love the MyPillow, especially when you get 2 for the price of $70. On top of that, you also get these beautiful Giza Dream Sheets, these impeccably made dream sheets that are made from cotton from the Mediterranean, and the high thread count and the softness is just something else. And talk about sleeping cool, that's going to work for you as well. So check it out on the web. It's mypillow.com/Jamie, mypillow.com/Jamie.
KXFN, St. Louis, K287BY, St. Louis.
Curtains, shades, blinds, shutters. What are the best for living rooms or bedrooms? Let me tell you about the quality customized service you will receive when you call Michael Proctor at Proctor Drapery. Michael Proctor is an interior designer with exceptional expertise when it comes to window treatments for your home or business. Michael Proctor has served our St. Louis area since 1974 with the highest quality and value for custom drapery, blinds, shades, and shutters. He is also a top-tier Hunter Douglas priority dealer and your first choice for Norman Plantation shutters. Call Michael Proctor today and schedule your in-home consultation with Michael's mobile design unit. He will come to you. Weekend and evening appointments are available. The one-on-one appointment with Michael Proctor will ensure the look is exactly what you're looking for in your home or business. Cut down on the risk of error and make your home great again. Proctor Drapery is the answer. Schedule your appointment today with Michael. Contact Michael at proctordrapery.com proctorclothing.com. It's Proctor spelled like doctor.
The Dana Show, this afternoon at 1. Now, more Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Happy Tuesday. Good morning this morning. From one of the greatest bands ever. Phil, is that good guitar or is that just okay guitar? Yeah, I always have to consult Phil on those matters and make sure that I'm correct about that. I wouldn't want to overstate the loveliness of ZZ Top. Here's another really very interesting tidbit of information that shouldn't make you feel that great. You see, the top execs of 180 companies have all signed a letter, which was a dumb idea, but they've all signed a letter saying abortion is necessary to be successful in business. You want to know who some of the businesses are? Hint. I've heard commercials for Hint. That one chick talking about how she didn't like sugar in her sodas, and then came up with this Hint product that you can drink. That I don't know. I guess it's like you could get a little taste of flavor or so. I don't know. Is that stuff that people squirt in their waters? I've seen people do that before. Like they have something in their purse. Have you seen those? And they squirt it in their water. What is that? Flavor. Is that Hint? Oh, okay. So Hint must be something. Anyway, whoever does Hint, the Body Shop U.S., Pop Sugar, I don't know what that is, Atlantic Records, and Warner Music Group. Dude, really? Atlantic Records? I mean, the world famous, amazing, legendary. I mean, Warner's one thing, but Atlantic's another. Ben & Jerry's, Yelp. You want to keep supporting Yelp, do you? Stop going on Yelp. Stop letting them make money off of you. Their top executive is signing a letter saying abortion is necessary to be successful in business. H&M, what's that? MAC Cosmetics, Bloomberg LP, and Slack Technologies. There are 180 of them. So I'm going to look. They only gave me that number. But Dermalogica, professional skincare, Dermalogica. Let's see, Blue Jeans Network, Atlantic Records, Rag & Bone, Kenneth Cole Productions. I actually kind of like some Kenneth Cole clothing, but not quite sure I could support that. You've got, I'm trying to see some that you might also know, but R2C Group, Catbird. So just look, a lot of people in the cosmetics, clothing, and, hipster business. Oh, Lesbians Who Tech. That's another company, just in case you've been going to the Lesbians Who Tech store. I'm going to figure out I'm going to invent something wrong with my computer so I can go to the Lesbians Who Tech store to fix it. They'll probably run me out. Get out of here, hetero. Let's see. I don't know. Well, I'll find the link. I'll text it to Phil, and we can put it up on the Facebook page for those of you who want to know more about it. But Full Circle Brands, I think I've heard of them. But you never know who these companies are because they own other companies as well. So it's all over the place. But 180 executives who signed a letter saying abortion is necessary to succeed in business. It's Common Sense Radio.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Iowa takes center stage today in the 2020 race for the White House. Both President Trump and Democratic frontrunner Joe Biden will be in the state. The president will talk farm policy during a stop at a renewable energy facility in Council Bluffs. Biden planning a series of rallies in the state, wrapping up his visit tomorrow. House Democrats may vote today on a contempt resolution for Attorney General William Barr and former White House counsel Don McGahn.
The resolution allows Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler to ask a court to enforce a subpoena for Barr to turn over an unredacted copy of the Mueller report, as well as to force McGahn to provide documents and to testify. The White House has invoked executive privilege to keep McGahn from cooperating. With a Democratic majority, the resolution is expected to pass.
Capitol Hill correspondent Wally Hines. The investigation of yesterday's deadly New York City helicopter crash is kicking into high gear, with the National Transportation Safety Board dispatching its experts to the scene.
The helicopter landed on top of the AXA Equitable building near Times Square and Trump Tower. People inside felt it.
It was kind of weird, not like a minor earthquake, not kind of like anything I've ever felt before.
Fire Chief Daniel Nigro says one person was killed.
We were able to put water on the fire quite quickly. Unfortunately, we did find a victim.
And Nigro says the helicopter was not allowed in that area. There are flight restrictions since President Trump took office. I'm Ed Donahue.
David Ortiz now back in his adopted hometown of Boston. The former Red Sox star hospitalized for wounds suffered when he was shot in his native Dominican Republic on Sunday night. His liver was damaged in the attack, and surgeons in the Dominican Republic removed his gallbladder and part of his intestine. Wall Street, Dow futures up 98 points. NASDAQ futures 50 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
We've got some road work out there causing a little bit of a problem. 70 westbound at Union Boulevard. 2 right lanes are closed with that construction. And, of course, we've got lots and lots of closures still due to flooding. In St. Louis, Marine Avenue closed both ways between Dorset and Maryland Heights Expressway. River City Boulevard is closed both ways between Alabama Avenue and 55. And the Dorset Midland Bridge over Lindbergh, that remains closed with road work until the end of August. Traffic is sponsored by Napa Auto Parts. This month at Napa Auto Parts stores, get $25 or more off brand new DeWalt power tools by trading in your old ones. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how. At participating Napa Auto Parts stores. While supplies last, offer ends June 30th. I'm Bonnie Green with your St. Louis Metro traffic on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
1380 The Answer. Weather.
It'll be pleasant today with mostly sunny skies and a high of 83. We'll have increasing clouds tonight, the low 63. It'll be mostly cloudy tomorrow and cooler with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm, the high 73. Mainly clear and cooler tomorrow night, the low 56. Partly sunny skies expected for Thursday. It'll be pleasant with a high of 75. I'm Drew Shannon with your St. Louis Metro forecast on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
Dana Lash.
Just because someone wants to identify a certain way does not mean that someone else has to forfeit their right to disagree to make that happen. Whether or not that, if that person wants to believe that way, their doing so isn't made possible by rescinding the right of someone else to disagree. And if it has to be that way, then you need to question a lot of things about yourself.
The Dana Show. Weekdays at 1 on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Rick Pogue here. Have you ever wondered exactly how hail forms or how it manages to grow to the size of golf balls, baseballs, or even larger? In a thunderstorm, strong updrafts lift water droplets so high into the atmosphere that they freeze. Once these tiny ice balls begin to fall, additional updrafts push them right back up, making them grow larger each time, until eventually they become too heavy, finally falling to the ground as large hail, and sometimes causing major damage to your home. After severe storms roll through the area and you're left to deal with the damage, call Arrowhead Arrowhead Building Supply for the professional help you need. High winds and large hail can wreak havoc on a home's exterior very quickly, so never neglect or underestimate the possible damage left behind. Arrowhead is the preferred supplier to hundreds of quality contractor professionals who will treat your home just like their own. Don't leave your home's protection to just anyone. Our contractor customers are also our friends and partners. When severe weather hits, call Arrowhead Building Supply for relief. ArrowheadBuildingSupply.com.
Common Sense Radio with Allman in the morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Give me land, lots of land, and the starry skies above. Don't fence me in. Let me ride through the wide open country that I love. Don't fence me in. Let me be by myself in the evening breeze. Listen to the murmur of the cottonwood trees. Send me off forever, but I ask you please.
Good morning, everybody. Tuesday. Yes, Judge Napolitano on the way in just about 15 minutes. We'll follow up on the John Dean deal. And also, after we talk to Judge Napolitano, I will once again regale you with the takedown of John Dean at the hands of a young Republican I've never even heard of before. But it was so refreshing to finally see somebody with some balls in the Republican Party stand up to this false narrative and this fiction that continues to be told. And finally, he called him out, and expertly and brilliantly so, for not having actually been born yet when Watergate actually happened. But John Dean is lucky he wasn't born yet, because had he actually experienced it like I did, he would think John Dean to be even more despicable than he actually is now. So just so you know. Also, by the way, we have news from Los Angeles. This is while we are planing and busing people around. And Jim, hang on the line there. This is while we are planing and busing illegal aliens all around the country once they cross the border, and just dropping them into communities and bending over backwards to offer them everything under the sun in terms of accommodations and everything else. This is all going on while this is going on. Los Angeles, homeless crisis worsens. 16,000 people in Los Angeles living in cars. So how truly welcome do you think these people are feeling when it comes to inviting illegal aliens here, when this country, and specifically the city of Los Angeles now, can't even take care of its own people? Imagine being homeless and living in your car, and I don't know what the circumstances are as to why they're doing that. It might be because they're drug addicted, or it's their fault. I get it. But the reality is we have homeless people here. Some of them might be veterans who haven't gotten the adequate help that they've needed after fighting in Vietnam, for instance, or Iraq and Afghanistan. Who knows who I'd like to see a profile of who many of these people are, but we do know 16,000 people in L.A. are living in their cars. And we're opening our borders to illegal aliens? And in fact, not only opening our borders, but taking them in, and then when we don't have room for them in detention centers, although that has stopped now with the tariff threat, but there's still the ones in the detention centers overflowing, we just bust them inland. That's just not fair to this country. It's not fair to the people. And if we're going to have any resources at all to help people who can't help themselves, but the reason why we're supposedly helping illegal aliens, let's help Americans first. It's for the life of me how blacks could possibly be on this train of promoting illegal aliens is beyond me. It's suicidal. But what else is new? Black leaders like Al Sharpton and all these other guys, Hakeem Jeffries and all these other people, are more than happy to lead their own people off a cliff for the sake of political expedience to please the white man. That's what that's all about. But how anybody in the black community can support open borders and parties that support open borders is beyond me. You've got to be stupid. And for that matter, poor white people. I'm just saying we could see entire communities like North St. Louis. You think these people want President Trump to open the borders to illegal aliens? I mean, I don't understand why we can't just turn everything around, turn our energies around. If we seem so hell bent on aiding all these people and their families. I mean, some woman traipses across here with 2 babies from Honduras, and we roll out the red carpet for her. While there's a woman with 2 babies on Wabada who nobody gives a rip about. I don't understand this. I don't understand why it's tolerable. But no, you're a racist. Well, what is the black woman? Well, she's probably not even she's struggling to support her babies because she doesn't have a father around anymore. So she's not even probably paying attention to any of this. She's not reading the Drudge Report. She's too busy trying to take care of 2 kids. But yeah, too bad. Maybe what ought to happen is, if people really want to help the black community, and for that matter, the poor white community, whatever, is why don't we bust them all to Honduras and just have them come back in? Maybe that would be the way to help them. Jim is on line 1. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, hey, I just wanted to touch on this point about the businessmen saying that we need abortion to be successful. Tucker Carlson has got a beat on this when he talks about how abortion is needed to keep women in the workforce, keep them in these cubicles. We need to first send them to college and get them trained and educated. Instead of the corporations training them to do the job, they have to be first trained through the colleges. So these poor girls go into debt, and then they get married, and they tell their husbands, look, we can't have a baby because I got to pay my college debt. So she gets a job, and she's working in a cubicle making just thousands and millions of dollars for some rich guy, and she doesn't see it. And so, of course, they want these women to be in the workforce because they work cheaper than a man would, than a husband, than a father who has to support 6 kids. You know, he's not going to take that job, but a mom who's going to remain childless because she's quote unquote choosing it in order to stay alive, to eat and to feed her and her husband, and they have to remain childless. Of course, these businessmen want these abortion remain. This is not a moral issue, and it's not a civil rights issue. This is a greed issue,
a convenience issue. Jimmy, really excellent point you're making there, and Jim is trying to say and said that basically these guys, of course, they support abortion because they don't want women working for them who are tethered by some annoying baby. But here's the thing, though. What company would not want a mom working for them? I think they mistake what women feel and do when they have babies. They want to protect them and raise them and support them. And so if in a mother, you might not have every little convenience of being untethered, but you certainly would have highly motivated people. I guarantee you, having children motivates you to be successful. Because that's what you're here on earth to do, is raise children and raise them successfully, or do what you can to help them out. And so, that's so you have a highly motivated individual there, which is why, of course, also, you know, how could they possibly think that should be a movement, that business owners, 180 of them signing this letter, abortion is necessary to be successful. I'm not even quite sure many women feel that way. I mean, because I'm telling you, this idea somehow that women think abortion is great is, I mean, maybe some hag like Stacey Newman does. But who doesn't have to worry about it anymore. But man, but I don't think most young women look upon babies as if you're being poisoned by something. But maybe I'm mistaken. There has to be somebody on the left. I noticed, you know, that's kind of the thing now. But I can't imagine a woman wanting to work for a company that looks down upon them if they happen to be pregnant or have a baby. And I'd be worried about whether or not that's how they operate in terms of hiring. Like, does Hint or the Bloomberg LP or Atlantic Records, do they make a preference of people without kids versus people with kids? Like, if you're a mom, do you have less of a chance of being hired by any one of these companies? That's a question I would ask of 180 of these executives. Like, oh, so you like it when babies are out of the way. So does that also affect babies who already exist then? Do you hire based on that? And I bet they do. It seems to be that's their attitude. They're going to take a break here, and then we're going to move into Judge Napolitano and this You Know What show there on Washington, D.C. with John Dean. You can call Tammy.com real estate listener line too, 844-855-1380. It's Common Sense Radio.
More Allman in the Morning coming up on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer. Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Well, we're still accident-free and delay-free at this hour. The only thing we're looking at is construction and flooding. That pretty much sums up the spring so far. We've got midday road work coming up today, 9 to 3. You'll see construction on eastbound and westbound 6440 on the Boone Bridge. Of course, the Dorset-Midland Bridge over Lindbergh is closed with road work until the end of August. And flooding is a problem in St. Louis, too, at Marine Avenue, both directions between Dorset and Maryland Heights Expressway closed. Traffic is sponsored by Napa Auto Parts. This month at Napa Auto Parts stores, get $25 or more off brand new DeWalt power tools by trading in your old ones. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how. At participating Napa Auto Parts stores, while supplies last, offer ends June 30th. I'm Bonnie Green with your St. Louis Metro traffic on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
All right, folks, throttled it. I think over there in Baltimore, they're still having the issue because they didn't care enough about their people to go ahead and have some protections of their internet system. So, of course, they're going to be ripe for an invasion on the part of hackers. That's kind of how it works. They're always looking for vulnerabilities of individuals who run systems that involve credit cards, individuals that run systems that involve Social Security numbers, systems that involve health care records or financial records or governments, you name it. And that's why ThrottleNet is so important to all these entities out there, to make sure that you are protected, that make sure that you are taken care of, and that make sure that no holes are in your IT system that the bad guys can exploit. How does that happen? ThrottleNet pretends to be the bad guys, but they're really the good guys, and they know what the bad guys are up to. They know how to poke into systems like the bad guys do, but they're motivated to fix them because, well, you're their client, and they'll take really good care of you that way. ThrottleNet is the #1 IT service in the St. Louis area. They've just expanded. They have their new offices out there in Sunset Hills because they are so successful. And by the way, they are the groundbreakers of the 24/7 concept, meaning they have 24/7 service to you. So all you have to do is go ahead and give them a shout all hours of the evening, depending on what happens, and they'll either handle your situation remotely or get you taken care of in person when they knock on your door. ThrottleNet.com. That's ThrottleNet.com.
Interested in purchasing a silencer? Stop by and talk to the pros at Razorback Armory, the region's only full-service, silver-level silencer shop dealer. With our state-of-the-art all-digital process, we'll be with you every step of the way. For your account setup, fingerprints, photographs, and federal forms. All are done promptly and professionally in shop while you wait. Stop in and check out our vast selection of silencers and other NFA items at Razorback Armory, located just east of 270 on Manchester Road in Des Peres, and online at RazorbackArmory.com.
This is Scott Ferguson, the Director of Outreach at St. Matthew United Methodist Church in Belleville, Illinois. If you're presently looking for a church home, we would love for you to join the church family at St. Matthew. We have 3 Sunday morning services. The 8 a.m. traditional service, 9:17 is our contemporary service, and the 10:45 a blended service with a full choir and orchestra. You can find additional information at our website, stmatthewumc.org. We'd love to see you on Sunday morning.
Hey, want to talk with Jamie? Call 844-855-1380. 844-855-1380. And interact with Common Sense Radio. This is Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Good morning, everybody. Want to make sure that you know who's standing by. And his name is Judge Napolitano, everybody.
I know to you I may look old. Hope this statement ain't too bold, but here comes the judge. Here comes the judge. Here comes the judge. Here comes the judge.
Judge Napolitano, welcome to the show. And, listen, I know you weren't born by the time Watergate happened, my friend, but I don't know what your memory... I'm just kidding. Where were...
Keep going.
I know.
I remember those days as if they were yesterday. But really, do we need the history lesson all these years later? John Dean, and I assume this is what you're driving at, John Dean was a hero of those hearings because he did expose a lawless president. But I really don't see what that has anything to do with the Democrats' wish to investigate President Trump. In America, we have two kinds of witnesses, fact witnesses or opinion witnesses. Fact witnesses have perceived something with their senses. They saw something, they heard something, they smelled something, they touched something, they tasted something, and they're going to tell the fact finder about it. Obviously, John Dean is not a fact witness in any of the allegations against the president brought by Bob Mueller. And expert witnesses are those who help the fact finder understand something beyond the fact finder's knowledge. So if it's an automobile accident and the plaintiff's leg is broken, you have a physician get on the stand and explain to the jury how the leg was broken and how much pain it's going to cause and how long it will take for the leg to heal. That's background. So what was John Dean yesterday? He certainly wasn't a fact witness, and he certainly wasn't an opinion witness. He was some sort of a new witness recounting American history, because this is what the Democrats wanted to hear. I don't think it went over well for them. It was largely taken off air because of this almost tragedy we had just a couple of blocks from Fox, where a helicopter crashed on the top of a 52-story building. This all happened at about the same time. So, look, I don't know what they're going to do, the Democrats. I don't know if they're going to impeach him or if they just want to throw up enough bad stuff about him to keep his eyes off the ball and give themselves fodder in the 2020 campaign. I don't know where this is going to go.
Very interesting.
However, I was surprised yesterday to learn that the Attorney General is releasing materials to the House Judiciary Committee, which the government never releases. So when Congressman Nadler, chairman of House Judiciary, asked Attorney General Barr to give him the unredacted Mueller report, and he said no, Nadler also asked for many of the documents that Mueller relied on when he prepared the report. And in return for not holding Barr in contempt, the DOJ yesterday agreed to release a lot of those documents. Now, this is very dangerous to the president, because this will allow the staff of the House Judiciary Committee, some very bright lawyers, and who are the investigators on that staff? Ex-FBI agents, to look at the same raw material, interviews that the FBI made of witnesses, transcripts of surveilled telephone conversations, financial documents, who was paying who. There are 2 million pages of documents there. It will allow those folks to look at those documents and come up with different conclusions than the ones Mueller came up with. That's the danger to the president, and Bill Barr opened the door to that danger yesterday.
Yeah,
that's where we are.
Yeah, it seems as though what this is now then is, okay, let's take the Mona Lisa off the wall and put a blank canvas on there and give you another palette of paint, and you all can paint whatever you want to paint here and still call it the Mona Lisa, which is kind of with raw materials what they can do. And John Dean also would... Go ahead.
No, I agree with that, Mona Lisa.
Yeah. Well, and
the president, in his own inimitable way, called it a do-over, and I actually agree with him. It is an attempt to do it over by having different eyes look at the same evidence and come up to different conclusions. Now, just as if you and I both observed an automobile accident, we may see it and recall it differently. Just two prosecutors looking at the same evidence will come to different conclusions. That's what's going to happen now. And once Barr opened the door to allowing that evidence into the hands of the non-prosecutorial class, the House Judiciary Committee. There's no stopping them. They're going to get all 2 million pages, and they're going to come up with their own report, and it'll have different conclusions, and it'll probably say the Trump campaign did conspire with Russian agents, and the president did commit obstruction of justice, and here, you take this and decide what to do with it. So the president's right. This is an effort at a do-over. Now, does the House Judiciary Committee have a legitimate role here? Yes, it does. But I have never seen it go this deep into the raw evidence.
Yeah, and they better hurry because would Mr. Barr had consulted the president before he released this, or would this actually be something the White House said, yeah, go ahead and do this, or how does that work?
I can't imagine the White House said go ahead and do this because the White House has been claiming, in my view, inappropriately, some sort of privilege. They're not calling it executive privilege because it is not executive privilege. And if the White House agreed to release these documents, some of which were generated by the White House itself, then the president has no privileges left. Because, you know, once you waive a privilege, you can't take it back. And some of this stuff has to do with Don McGahn, the John Dean's successor by many, as White House legal counsel. So if the president thinks he can keep Don McGahn from being forced to testify, but his attorney general is going to allow documents referencing Mr. McGahn's behavior and testimony to FBI agents, there's no way that they can stop McGahn from testifying before that committee. So I hope that the right hand in the White House knows what the left hand is doing.
Right. So back to John Dean. So he admitted even during the hearing under questioning by Representative Gates that he was not there as a factual witness. But does it even matter really at this point? Because let's say you're running through an airport and CNN's on and you're watching the hearing and there's John Dean, or we just kind of catch a glimpse of the TV here and there, or see a picture in the paper and don't really listen to the story, but we see John Dean. And so really a lot of this is visual. This is shading. This is just kind of like throwing them out there.
Yes. I mean, the stated purpose was to see if there were comparisons and to educate the committee and the procedures that were followed by Senator Ervin of the Watergate Committee and Congressman Rodino, for whom, by the way, I was a page my sophomore year in high school in 1966. Another story for another time.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, I don't think that the House Judiciary Committee needs the history lesson. There certainly are more effective ways of educating the members of the committee, but this was a visual to try and paint Donald Trump with the Richard Nixon brush. Let's face it. And I think the Democrats in their sober moments would admit to that.
Yeah, and I can't say, and I'm not agreeing with their tactic here, but I can't really blame the Democrats for doing something like this. It's like, this is perfect because John Dean's always a willing participant in the whole, in the worse than Watergate thing. And so he has, I think, a vested interest in making everything worse than Watergate, but he also just seems to be a good little person to go to for a little cameo role here and there, and he's always willing to do it. So I'm not quite sure I blame the Democrats for trying to pull something like this because it seems they can.
Well, the majority can almost always do whatever it wants.
Yeah.
But it does appear now with the release of these documents, I say release, they're not made public, but they're in the hands of the staff of the House Judiciary Committee, more and more likely that Bob Mueller will testify and that Don McGahn will testify.
Right.
That's the riveting testimony. That would draw the nation's eyes and ears because we don't know what they're going to say.
Yeah, well, once again, you picked up on
Mueller accused the president of committing obstruction of justice with respect to Don McGahn.
Yeah.
If he comes out with that same version, the president's in very hot water. If he comes out with a different version and Mueller's accused of gilding the lily, then Mueller's in hot water and the president's off the hook.
Yeah.
Just to get this down and dirty, Jamie. That's where it's going to go, one way or the other.
Well, once again, they better hurry because, we're getting hiring numbers and good economic news, and so they better hurry with whatever it is they're trying to put the hammer down on the president. So really quickly then, In 1974, then, where was Judge Napolitano? I know you were with Mr. Rodino in 66, so at 74...
I was a law student at the University of Notre Dame, not that far from where you are now, in the great Midwest. And it was a very difficult summer for me. I thought it was a political coup throwing Richard Nixon out of office. I was naive. I now realize that he was a criminal in the White House, and as he once told David Frost, if the president does it, that means it's not illegal. Well, then he's not a president. He's a king.
Yeah.
So the right thing happened, but it was a very painful summer, as you may recall. Whether you like Nixon or not, that was a very, very painful summer. I really hope we don't go through that again.
Boy, I remember it, too. I was a kid, but I definitely was plugged into the whole thing, even as a 11-year-old. So I was still in it. So, Judge Napolitano, always a pleasure talking to you. Have a blessed rest of your week, my friend.
You as well, Jamie. All the best.
By the way, really quickly, I noticed Cardinal Burke, our buddy Cardinal Burke, issued a statement. Oh, shoot. Didn't get him in there. Well, anyway, Cardinal Burke and the crew, and he's a mutual friend of ours, issued this little statement kind of calling out the Pope for being a slightly tad misdirected. I'll deal with that a little bit later on the show. I was dying to ask Judge Napolitano about it, but it seemed like he was itching to get out of it. We had kind of had him over time anyway. The call, Tammy.com, real estate listener lines, 844-855-1380. It's Common Sense Radio.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
A couple of accidents still causing problems at this hour. We've got a crash on 94 southbound. It's blocking the right lane after Mid-Rivers Mall Drive. And 270 westbound, still slow from 367 to Washington Elizabeth with that earlier crash on the right shoulder. You can still see the scene from the jam cam east of Washington. 270 northbound, that has tightened up again. Tesson Ferry to Manchester's your delay. And 6440 eastbound, McKnight Road to Big Bend slows. Westbound still good. Traffic is sponsored by ZipsCarWash.com. No matter how often you wash your car, Zips Car Wash has a deal for you. Check out ZipsCarWash.com and save up to 70% on a single wash. Or you can get unlimited monthly wash memberships for one low price. Feel good. Head to Zips. I'm Bonnie Green with your St. Louis Metro traffic on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
1380 The Answer. Weather.
It'll be pleasant today with mostly sunny skies and a high of 83. We'll have increasing clouds tonight, the low 63. It'll be mostly cloudy tomorrow and cooler with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm, the high 73. Mainly clear and cooler tomorrow night, the low 56. Partly sunny skies expected for Thursday. It'll be pleasant with a high of 75. I'm Drew Shannon with your St. Louis Metro forecast on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
Rick Pogue here to tell you that real beauty is on the outside. I'm referring to your home, of course. We all want the most attractive home on our block with the very best curb appeal. Presenting the Outside Elegance Collection by Arrowhead Building Supply. Simply put, Outside Elegance is your answer to giving your home that luxurious appearance without the huge price tag. Arrowhead's Outside Elegance Collection features all those products you've dreamed about having on your home but never thought you could afford. Products like metal roofing that looks just like shingles, slate, or tile with a lifetime warranty. Composite slate roofing that looks just like the real thing at a fraction of the cost. James Hardy fiber cement siding with the beauty of wood but the strength of cement. LP Smart Side engineered wood siding with the look and feel of authentic wood siding but also a 30-year finish. Provia manufactured stone. Yes, you can afford stone on your home as well. We have many colors and profiles available. If you need a contractor, Arrowhead services the very best professionals. Visit our incredible showroom near you or call and request a free catalog. Our home's appearance says a lot about who we are. Now is the time to make a bold statement. ArrowheadBuildingSupply.com.
Curtains, shades, blinds, shutters. What are the best for living rooms or bedrooms? Let me tell you about the quality customized service you will receive when you call Michael Proctor at Proctor Drapery. Michael Proctor is an interior designer with exceptional expertise when it comes to window treatments for your home or business. Michael Proctor has served our St. Louis area since 1974 with the highest quality and value for custom drapery, blinds, shades, and shutters. He is also a top-tier Hunter Douglas priority dealer and your first choice for Norman Plantation shutters. Call Michael Proctor today and schedule your in-home consultation with Michael's mobile design unit. He will come to you. Weekend and evening appointments are available. The one-on-one appointment with Michael Proctor will ensure the look is exactly what you're looking for in your home or business. Cut down on the risk of error and make your home great again. Proctor Drapery is the answer. Schedule your appointment today with Michael. Contact Michael at proctordrapery.com. It's Proctor spelled like doctor.
Greetings, St. Louis. This is Matthew Mitchell of the Matthew Mitchell Allstate Agency. Excited to welcome Jamie Allman back to St. Louis Radio. As a longtime supporter and sponsor of Allman in the Morning, my goal as his trusted advisor is to make sure that you are in good hands. With over 70 years of combined staff experience, my team of agents and I know how to make sure that you get the best value for the money you spend on your insurance. Is your insurance company currently hiding behind a website, out of town, or just a call center with no accountability to you or our community? Would you like to speak to the same person every time you call? Is there a new roof on your home? Do you have a teenage driver in your family? Has your credit score improved greatly over the last few years? You can email me at matthewmitchell@allstate.com, or you can call my agents at 855-QUOTE-ME. Folks, there is safety in numbers. Put the power of Allstate to work for you as America's largest and strongest insurance company. This is Matthew Mitchell of the Matthew Mitchell Allstate Agency. Again, the number to call is 855-QUOTE-ME.
America's First News with Matt Ray gets you up to speed mornings from 4 to 6, right before Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Each day so satisfied, I'm on my way.
Take a straight and stronger course to the corner of your life. Make the White Queen run so fast, she hasn't got time to make you a wife. It's time with your time, and this news is captured for the Queen to use. Move me on to any black square, use me anytime you want.
Folks, don't forget about this wonderful organization we are tied with, and you all have been so generous in your support of the Alliance Defending Freedom. These are individuals who are fighting the good fight. I'm talking about at all levels. I'm talking about when the florist is forced by somebody and put down and almost put out of work because she decides she doesn't want to be part of somebody's solemnity because she doesn't agree with what they're doing. You know what? It doesn't matter whether it's a gay couple or if somebody doesn't want to be. There's no way a Christian or a Muslim or a Jew could ever get away with forcing somebody to say their prayers. You realize that, right? You know, that's America here. I don't need to celebrate Ramadan if I don't want to. And you know what? A Muslim doesn't need to celebrate Christmas if he or she doesn't want to. But for whatever reason in this world, if you're a florist or a baker or you are an individual who is at a farmer's market, if you dare pipe up about your own faith and don't cooperate with the demands of somebody who doesn't share your faith, you suddenly are put out of business. Doesn't make any sense. The ACLU is not there for anybody. Well, they are there for anybody, but only if you're on the left. But the Alliance Defending Freedom is a completely different story here. It's a group of attorneys, people who are struggling to defend the rights of people where otherwise they wouldn't be defended at all. So I'm encouraging you to contribute to the Alliance Defending Freedom. Go to theanswerstl.com and click on the ADF banner. It's right there. And you could do it online. And you can also do it by phone. This is a number specific to the Allman in the Morning show, which is going to give you and give this show credit and give St. Louis credit. Because so far we're kind of, I think, ahead, or at least, giving them a run for their money, the other stations around the Salem Media Network, in terms of the number of people who are contributing. 866-700-1060, 866-700-1060. So we saw this thing about, and I'll get to this John Dean takedown in just a second. It was beautiful, and it was so great to see a Republican finally standing up to what's going on, and because none of the other Republicans seemingly are calling John Dean out for his theatrics. The guy's a felon who only isn't in prison because he squeaked. And I realize some people think of him as a hero. Maybe so. But there's nothing worse than Watergate. And even if John Dean calls it that because he needs it to be so that he could rest in peace, it's never going to be true. But as long as you pay him, he'll say it. And this Republican got him to basically admit that. So we'll follow up on that. You saw what happened with David Ortiz down there in the Dominican Republic. And thank God he survived that. And it only reminded me really of when I was a kid. Like a lot of kids, if they're big baseball fans, and I was a huge baseball fan and still am. But when I was a kid, and we just talked about 74, I was 11, 73, 10, 72, 9. So those are my big baseball collecting days, 71, 8. And I have a huge baseball card collection, but usually mainly from that era. Although I do have one hockey card, and it's Gordie Howe that I bequeathed to my daughter Natalie the other night during the Blues playoff game, and she doesn't know who I had. He's a Red Wing, and it looked like he was like 55 because Gordie Howe played, I think, till he was 50 or so. I mean, it was pretty amazing. Without a helmet, by the way. But my Gordie Howe card, because Natalie's become a big hockey fan, so I went ahead and gave her the Gordie. So that was the one hockey card I had. This is my Gordie Howe card from 1970-something. Anyway, so but because the Cardinals, during 72, 73, 74, those are some dark days for the St. Louis Cardinals. I know Blue Brock was around, but we weren't, we had just gotten through the 67, 68 era, and, you had Shannon, McCarver, Gibson, all those guys. But by the time, there was a little bit of a switch around by the time 72, 73 rolled around. So the Cardinals weren't all that great, but I was a huge baseball fan. So I love the Yankees, and the Pirates were one of my favorite teams. The Oakland A's were like my team. And so I love these guys. And one of my most celebrated heroes at the time was Roberto Clemente, who died in a plane crash in the off season going down to his town. I think it was the Dominican Republic. Went down there to help in disaster relief or whatever. He flew his own plane down there, or was in a plane that was flown down there trying to bring supplies to his fellow countrymen. And that had a big impact on me when I was a kid, man. That was like unfathomable to have one of your baseball heroes die like that. And so I could just imagine what some of the kids out there are thinking about David Ortiz. David Ortiz drove me crazy when we were playing against him, but he's a damn good player. I also like him when he's on the Major League Baseball commentator sections. All right, so speaking of the Dominican Republic, do you see what's going on in these Dominican Republic resorts? These people are supposedly the run-up to their deaths or to their violent illnesses is when they drink something down at these resorts. So they drink something from the minibar, or I think it was the minibar mostly, or they drink something at the bar. And now, do you remember back, I guess it was about a year ago, when there was that run of people who died in these Mexican resorts? Do you remember that? Like they'd have tequila shots or something. Next thing they know, they'd go up to their rooms because they were like, they were losing their minds, and they were violently sick, and they were dizzy, and they'd collapse basically, and then wake up like the next day fine, but their mind was erased. There are people who've gone down there for weddings. Some people drowned. But it was all after they had the tequila down there. And what they were doing in Mexico, what they discovered, and these governments, man, you can't I don't know. I know people go down to these places, but Dominican Republic, really? It doesn't seem to be a very positive place to be. I don't care whether you're at a resort or not. You can't trust anybody working there. But anyway, what they were doing with the tequila is apparently they were completely faking what was in the liquor. So basically what you had was, and they were using, I think it was almost like turpentine or something. And they were squirting tequila flavoring in this substance, turpentine. I think it was actually, I don't know, I can't remember what it was, but it was like they were clearly reusing bottles. And whether the resort knew it or not, the people who were actually supplying them, they couldn't figure at what level the poisoning took place. The bastardization of what they were getting. They couldn't figure out whether it was at the level of the distributor or the people at the resort, who would just simply fill these bottles with fake liquor as long as they had the flavor of tequila in it, because you could actually flavor this stuff with tequila flavoring. Then you could make it seem like it was tequila when it really wasn't. These people were all collapsing and drowning and, having their mind erased in hotel rooms and everything else. And now they can't figure out what was going on. 4 people have died at these resorts in the Dominican. And usually because one guy had a scotch from the room's minibar at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino there in Punta Cana. And then a few months before, 3 more tourists died of these mysterious causes. And it was usually after they drank something. So, it's interesting how, the FBI is supposedly looking into this, but they really don't have a whole lot of jurisdiction. These people in the Dominican Republic aren't telling anybody exactly how they died, and it just is crazy. But I'm assuming that the families have them up here. They could do their own autopsy and figure it out, but still, it's crazy. But it just reminded me of what happened down in Mexico. In other international news, remember when Kim Jong-un's brother was stabbed with an umbrella? Was it an umbrella? Like poisoned? I think it was those 2 women who went up to him and poked him with the umbrella. Yeah, man, Kim Jong-un's brother. And I'm sorry if I'm only giving you roundabout facts here. I didn't exactly think I was going to talk about this, but I just saw it on the news. That apparently his brother was working was a CIA informant, Kim Jong-un's brother. So that could actually get just a tad messy for the U.S. government. Also, locally, and I was talking about Cardinal Burke the other day, and how he and a group of people issued this paper, basically kind of roundaboutly questioning the Pope's viewpoints of things and doing it as deftly as they could without winding up getting punished. But it's a very interesting piece that I'll talk to you about later on in the show. I should probably have Father Tom on to talk about that. I could wait till Thursday, but I'll double back on it. So in Springfield, Illinois, there is this Bishop Thomas Paprocki, and he has basically now said that in accordance with Canon 915 of the Code of Canon Law, Illinois Senate President John Cullerton and Speaker of the House Michael Madigan, who facilitated the passage of the Act Concerning Abortion of 2017, basically just making it much easier to kill babies, as well as the Reproductive Act of 2019, are not to be admitted to Holy Communion in the Diocese of Springfield in Illinois because they have obstinately persisted in promoting the abominable crime and very grave sin of abortion, as evidenced by the influence they exerted in their leadership roles and their repeated votes and obdurate public support for abortion rights over an extended period of time. That word obdurate's pretty cool. Sounds like something a bishop would say. I've never heard that word before, but it sounds like it's a really good word. If you're obdurate public support, I'm assuming that's just your either unconscionable public support or your inability to see that your public support. It sounds like it's close to having the root of ob, which is like obstinate. So the Latin ob is probably just you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing. I think. I don't know my Latin. You know Latin? Okay, is that my right? Yes. Okay. Yeah. See, it's not hard to figure that out, but still. I know I know a little bit about that, but anyway, these persons may be readmitted to Holy Communion only after they have truly repented these grave sins and furthermore have made suitable reparation for damages and scandal. So it's going to be a lot of hard work for Madigan and Cullerton or whatever his name is to receive Holy Communion. I remember Archbishop Burke made some comment offhandedly because he was asked the question about John Kerry. And they acted like it was Archbishop Burke who was committing a sin by denying Holy Communion to that. So anyway, I'm sure there are many other people who perhaps under other circumstances should not be receiving Holy Communion, but this is a pretty kind of outward move on the part of this bishop, and it's going to be a pretty big deal, I think, down the line, because this is one of the first times in a long time we've seen a higher up in the Catholic Church make such pronunciations. Your phone calls are welcome. Call Tammy.com or real estate listener lines 844-855-1380. It's Common Sense Radio.
Call the show at 844-855-1380 and interact with Jamie on the calltammy.com listener line. That's 844-855-1380. More Allman in the Morning next on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer. Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Well, we continue to pick up some slow spots out there, and an accident still causing problems on 94 southbound. It's blocking a right lane after Mid-Rivers Mall Drive. 270 northbound, that slows Tesson Ferry to Manchester. And 270 westbound, crash still there on the right shoulder at Washington Elizabeth, causing a little bit of a delay back to 367. We can still see it from the jam cam east of Washington. And 6440 eastbound McKnight to Big Bend is tight. Westbound heavier. Hampton to Laclede Station Road, the delay. Traffic is sponsored by TrainInfo.com Heating and Cooling. Enjoy comfort year-round with a new Train heating and cooling system. At Train, they test so it runs. For a limited time, you can get a great deal on a qualifying new Train system. Visit TrainInfo.com to find your local dealer. That's TrainInfo.com. It's hard to stop a train. I'm Bonnie Green with your St. Louis Metro traffic on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
DentistryWithTLC.com is the website. You go to that website, and Dr. Anna Smith has a phone number up there for you. And the phone number, once you go ahead and check it out, is actually a text number. And so let's say you're running around today and you've got a toothache or you've got something you know you need taken care of. Dr. Anna Smith can still get it taken care of before the end of the week for you. That's how fast they operate at Dentistry with TLC, because there's the TLC, Tender Loving Care, and there's also Tender Loving Convenience. And she wants to make sure it's really easy for you to get whatever work you need done. And on top of that, if you do have something and she discovers something else, she takes care of it on the spot as well, the same exact day, the same exact visit, so that you don't have to come back. That's the key there. She also has teeth straightening programs that are faster than you're going to find anywhere else in the land. She's a master at it and well-known. She's teaching other people to do the technology. She also has teeth whitening that is faster. She has pain-free root canals, 15 minutes long. She's got 20-minute implants that she's able to do for you, again, pain-free. She has the sleep apnea approach, which is a mouthpiece. It's a dental device instead of the bag over your head that can help you get an easier sleep. All those things she's there for you on, and she's got a great staff out there, and she'll get you in this week if you go ahead to DentistryWithTLC.com and text her and let her know you are ready to rock at Dentistry with TLC. DentistryWithTLC.com.
KXFN, St. Louis, K287BY, St. Louis.
Have you been denied credit? Are you paying high interest rates because of a low credit score? Join the thousands of people who've relied on CreditRepair.com to help rebuild their credit score.
I went to get my first car. I had to get a used car, high interest, and so I knew that things were done from there.
For over 15 years, we've helped thousands with their search for solutions to credit issues. We communicate with you, your creditors, and the credit bureaus with a unique approach designed to remove items like late payments, collections, charge-offs, liens, bankruptcy, and foreclosures that are unfair or inaccurate.
And I've gone up 40 points already.
There are many services offering to tell you your credit score and even monitor it for you. But what good is just knowing your credit score when what you really need is to fix it? Credit Repair members see a significant improvement in their credit scores month after month. Call now to get your no-obligation credit consultation, including your free credit score and free summary credit report. Don't delay. Call 800-859-0720. That's 800-859-0720. 800-859-0720.
Hey, don't just listen to Allman in the Morning. See the show at theanswerstl.com. Now, more Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Inside my heart there's an emptiness, a heavy hate on a hollow chest. Soul spoken like a disease is the way to incomplete me. Can you shake this soul?
So, Steve Church just sent me this bit from the New York Post where they are ridiculing the St. Louis Post-Dispatch for potentially jinxing the St. Louis Blues in Wednesday's playoff game. And here's what the St. Louis Post-Dispatch did. I didn't see this. I didn't know it was even in there, but Vince Dunn writing, if only they stopped the presses. The St. Louis Post-Dispatch embarrassingly published a letter from team owner Tom Stillman on Sunday that celebrated a championship the team has yet to win. Winning the Stanley Cup was a dream come true for so many of you. All of us will remember where we were, what we did, and how we felt when the Blues brought the cup home, Stillman wrote. So you talk about, I was talking about all the pressure, and I realize these guys are paid a lot of money, and pressure shouldn't be a thing. But that's Sunday, man. There's a lot of pressure. Game 6 was the most watched hockey game in St. Louis ever in history. And, the cup was sitting around the stadium. Everybody knew it was somewhere. You know what I mean? Like it was like hanging out someplace. There's no doubt champagne or whatever it is they were drinking is iced up. That's no different than a World Series game. I get it. But, and hats they made. They made hats. And so it's a lot, and everybody was on Sunday was kind of assuming that it was going to happen. I'm thinking, I don't know. The letter, featured among some advertisements paying tribute to the unfinished business, appeared in the digital edition of the publication, according to ESPN. And then the St. Louis Post-Dispatch apparently removed it. So they took it off they took it offline. But now our local newspaper is getting hazed by the New York Post for potentially jinxing the people. But I don't know. That would assume that they're jinxable. Which that's the one thing about the Blues is, yes, these are young men, and yes, they are human beings, and yes, pressure is tough, but I don't think you can jinx these guys. It's kind of like the people who always claim that somebody wanted it more. I can't stand it when people do that. Like, they must have wanted it more. It's like, no, both of them want this pretty badly. And I don't think you could say for 1 second, even as the Blues wind up losing Game 7, that you could possibly say they didn't want it more, because they definitely want this more. They just need to figure out a way to board somebody without getting caught. How do they do that? They have to go back to the old school. They need to ask one. I think only Bob is still alive. Is he? Bob Plager? I know Barkley passed away, but you need to ask those guys what they can do to get. And that's the thing too. I was a little concerned Sunday because I thought that the Blues. I thought the officiating was way too picky, and it's because the Boston Bruins just bitched about the officiating all the time. And we had a guy to put his hand on a puck and we barely peeped. But those of us who out in the peanut gallery did, but the Blues never really made a statement about that. You didn't see the Blues coach going on before a microphone and whining like a little baby about that. We just moved on and won. The Bruins apparently, though, feel entitled to have this thing, and so we'll see what happens on Wednesday. But the New York Post saying the St. Louis newspaper Post-Dispatch didn't do these guys any favors. We'll see. They called Tammy.com. Real estate list 844-855-1380. Yes, how about this? A young Republican with stones takes on John Dean. Coming up.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. The national political spotlight shines on Iowa today as both President Trump and Democratic frontrunner Joe Biden visit the state. The state says it's important to both campaigns. House Democrats expected to vote today on a contempt resolution for Attorney General William Barr and former White House counsel Don McGahn. The resolution allows Judiciary Committee Chairman Gerald Nadler to ask a court to enforce a subpoena for Barr to turn over an unredacted copy of the Mueller report, as well as to force McGahn to provide documents and to testify. Some Democrats continue pushing for the impeachment of President Trump, something that Mr. Trump says is totally without merit.
When you look at past impeachments, whether it was President Clinton or I guess President Nixon never got there, he left. I don't leave. There's a big difference. I don't leave. We did nothing wrong except create the greatest economy in the history of our country.
A theme the president's expected to stress during his visit today to Iowa. Wholesale prices barely budged last month, rising a scant 0.1%. Further evidence that inflation remains in check despite the booming economy. After being shot and wounded Sunday night in his native Dominican Republic,
David Ortiz has been moved to Boston, where his legend as a sports figure was built. It is also where his treatment will continue, as fans and well-wishers have been hoping for the best for the 43-year-old ex-baseball star fans knew as Big Papi.
Correspondent Oscar Wells-Gabriel says the former Red Sox slugger was reported in stable condition after doctors in the Dominican Republic removed his gallbladder and part of his intestine. The National Transportation Safety Board joining the investigation of yesterday's deadly New York City helicopter crash. On Wall Street, Dow futures up 125 points. NASDAQ futures ahead 66. S&P futures better by 17. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
We've got some slow spots, but right now we're accident-free. That crash on 94 southbound after Mid-Rivers Mall Drive, that's out of the way. 270 northbound, though, that delay's gotten bigger. 55 to Manchester, pretty much stop and go. Westbound, it's Bell Fountain to West Florissant slows. 44 eastbound, Bowles to 270, you've got delays. And 55 westbound, 64 to the 55-44 underpass slow. 6440 eastbound McKnight to Big Bend, westbound Hampton to Laclede Station, and 70 eastbound Earth City Expressway to St. Charles Rock Road. Traffic is sponsored by Napa Auto Parts. Right now at Napa Auto Care Centers, when you spend $250 on Napa brake parts, you can get a $75 prepaid Visa card. Quality parts installed by the pros. That's Napa know-how. At participating Napa Auto Care Centers, exclusions apply. Offer ends June 30th. I'm Bonnie Green with your St. Louis Metro traffic on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
1380 The Answer. Weather.
It'll be pleasant today with mostly sunny skies and a high of 83. We'll have increasing clouds tonight, the low 63. It'll be mostly cloudy tomorrow and cooler with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm, the high 73. Mainly clear and cooler tomorrow night, the low 56. Partly sunny skies expected for Thursday. It'll be pleasant. Drew Shannon with your St. Louis Metro forecast on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
I'm Lou Dobbs. Record hiring in April. Some shareholders want Hudson's Bay to go private, and the Tabasco sauce heir is named the new CEO of the company. Those stories next.
Are you a stock or options trader looking for real trading strategies that you can use immediately? Hi, my name is Scott Bauer, CEO of Prosper Trading Academy, and I'm on a mission to become the #1 options coach in America. I'm a former vice president at Goldman Sachs. I have over 25 years of options trading experience, and right now, I'm giving away my most famous options guide with over 20 unique options strategies that I use every day for free. You can't buy this guide anywhere. To claim your free options trading guide, simply call 855-892-2307 now and mention my name, Scott Bauer, and we will rush you the guide. Call 855-892-2307, and someone from my options team will help you get this guide in your inbox as quickly as possible. Call 855-892-2307 now and start learning to trade the right way. Call 855-892-2307. Prosper with options.
Stocks and options trading involves financial risk and is not suitable for all investors.
The Labor Department reporting employers hired the most people on record during the month of April. Almost 6 million jobs were filled, the most ever since records were kept. The number of job openings unchanged, more evidence the job market is solid. Shareholders trying to convince Hudson's Bay, that owns retailers Saks Fifth Avenue and Lord & Taylor stores, to go private. The offer is contingent upon Hudson's Bay completing a $1.5 billion sale of the remaining half of its businesses in Europe. The company that makes Tabasco sauce, Louisiana's McIlhenny Company, has named Harold Osborne its new CEO. He's the great-great-grandson of the man who first invented Tabasco sauce. McIlhenny is one of America's oldest family-owned companies. Please join me for Lou Dobbs tonight, 7 o'clock and 10 Eastern on the Fox Business Network. This is the Lou Dobbs Financial Report.
Call the 1380 The Answer listener line and tell us what you think.
Yes, this is from Mr. Jamie Allman. Mr. Allman, my name is Michael. I live in Nashville, Tennessee now. I used to live in St. Louis. So glad you're back on the air. I listen to you all the time online now because talk radio in Nashville sucks. But I just want to let you know you keep up the good work. You have a good day.
The 1380 Answer listener line. Call 844-825-1380. It's your turn to speak up.
Business owners, self-employed, part-time employees, are you struggling to pay your bills because you no longer can afford your health insurance? Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. With Obamacare premiums skyrocketing, higher deductibles, and shrinking networks, let me introduce you to Dryden Camus Insurance Agency as the answer, the solution. Dryden Camus Insurance Agency has non-Obamacare ACA-compliant plans that do not fund abortion. There's no enrollment period, and you don't have to pay for expensive extras like pediatric dentistry or maternity care. Contact Joyce at Dryden Camus Insurance Agency and start saving up to 60%. Call 877-695-0245. That's 877-695-0245, or just go to kddi-ins.com. Cut through the confusion and save money with Dryden Camus Insurance Agency, serving Missouri and Illinois. This is the answer. This is the solution. Dryden Camus Insurance Agency. Just go to kddi-ins.com.
Common Sense Radio with Allman in the morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Give me land, lots of land, and the starry skies above. Don't fence me in. Let me ride through the wide open country that I love. Don't fence me in. Let me be by myself in the evening breeze. Listen to the murmur of the cottonwood trees. Send me off forever, but I ask you please. Don't fence me in. Don't fence me in. Just turn me loose. Let me straddle my old saddle underneath the western skies. On my cayuse, let me wander over yonder till I see the mountains rise.
All right, so yesterday,
I want to ride to the river.
I was telling you about the phenomenon of these kind of B-team news organizations, these ones that actually serve as feeders to the mainstream news organizations. So what I'm talking about is, for instance, Politico and Axios and Vox and Daily Beast. These are all these small hack organizations that are staffed by left-wing hacks who can't get a real job, who actually serve as plausible deniability info warriors for the mainstream media. So what happens oftentimes is these scurrilous, ridiculous, hard-to-believe stories, like, for instance, the Trump boys scooting out on a tab at a bar in Ireland, they make the headway so NBC News can say that the Daily Beast is reporting blah, blah, blah. Then when it turns out to be patently false, NBC News just doesn't talk about it anymore, and it's the Daily Beast's problem. That's how it works. These people are very dishonest. They are, indeed, the enemies of the people. And now we have CBS, by the way, interviewing Jim Acosta, so we'll ride Acosta again like a rented mule. But nonetheless, that's how these people operate. So they all have these lower-rung news organizations that they use as feeders, and they're not responsible for the information they're reporting about. So they're like CBS is like, Vox is reporting that blah, blah. You're like, what's Vox? Who cares, right? It's kind of like John Dean before the House Judiciary Committee. It doesn't matter whether he isn't there for any reason but for show, because it's a show, and everybody who hates Trump is more than willing to trumpet the cred of John Dean. I'll get to that in just a second. But here's Axios now promoting, and they do dirty work for the globalist open borders people. And if you didn't think, and keep in mind, I know a lot of you thought Politico was maybe a organization that was balanced, or you don't really know what Politico is. But it's run by Mike Allen, and he's a left-wing stooge, and Politico is a left-wing website. Anyway, Axios is run by Mike Allen, who formerly of Politico, but they're all the same. They just break off into different subsets. These are people who break off and do their own little things and provide. You never hear NBC News quoting Breitbart, do you? Of course not. So thank God for Breitbart. So here's the latest from Axios and their analysis about how mass legal immigration, these are the people who are influencing Republicans and others to continue to import foreigners here to compete with you and your family and your kids. Mass legal immigration is necessary to replace older Americans in the workforce. That's from Axios. Analysis from Axios this week noted that elected officials are in a scare over the nation's aging population, coupled with declining birth rates and no increased incentives for Americans to have children. The solution, according to Axios and Wall Street executives and all the open borders lobbyists, is more legal immigration. So that's the green card people. So they're trying to promote all this, and as you know, even some of our celebrated members, even of the Freedom Caucus, Mike Lee and these guys are even on board with this terrible anti-American approach to our economy, which is instead of supporting Americans, we're just simply importing foreigners to take their jobs. You talk about the people who are out there not able to pay off their student loans or whatever. It's because they don't have jobs, because their jobs have already been taken by Haji. So that's the policy of the U.S. now, and even President Trump has fallen into the game here. But here's what Mike Allen is saying, that essentially. This is what he said, actually. This is a real quote here. Earth has plenty of workers to do the jobs we need, just not in the countries where the jobs are right now. Fixing that mismatch is shaping up to be a central political challenge for the upcoming decades. That kind of blathering garbage is the same thing we're hearing from George Will. Isn't it interesting how suddenly this week that's the thing? George Will, I'm not even gonna play it for you anymore because we don't need to hear his voice anymore, this never Trumper. But George Will saying the same thing. Illegal immigration is an entrepreneurial act We must have these people here. Now, I realize that people want cheap labor. I get it. But the reality is we have Americans who can fill these jobs. I just showed you the hiring numbers that are better than they have been since the Labor Department started tracking hiring in this country. And job openings are there. By the way, how did Bush's kid wind up on the Today Show? Is it Jenna or Barbara? I think it's Jenna. How did Jenna Bush wind up on the Today Show? I mean, boy, it's I guess it's the same way that Hillary's daughter wound up on the Today Show, right? Like what is this country? There's this nepotism around here is crazy. How is Jenna Bush? I realize she's got a name, and I understand why they're doing that, but how is Jenna Bush able to kind of just get a job out of nowhere on the Today Show? We were wondering that about what's-her-face. What's Hillary Clinton's daughter's name again? Oh, Chelsea. Yeah. All right, so you want to hear some a Republican who actually has some balls? Finally? I didn't even know this guy was on the Judiciary Committee because the only people I knew who were on this Judiciary Committee is the Star Wars bar cocoon cast bunch of nitwits like chicken choker Steve Cohen and fainting Jerry Nadler and loudmouth beast Maxine Waters and bumbling Dominican Republic's going to capsize. What's his name again? Hank. Was it the Dominican Republic he thought was going to capsize? Something. You know, those guys. I mean, this House Judiciary Committee is a just one hell of a group, let me tell you. I think that other woman who wears a cowboy hat's on there too. What's her name? But they're this is one big circus here. Do you ever see the movie Freaks? Oh, you ought to. It's like a movie from the 30s. You have? And they have like people with like cone hat, like real. Yeah, they have real, like it's called Freaks. Look it up, Phil. You'll love it. If you just, I would be careful, but if you just Google Freaks, I don't know. I would do it on a moderate search setting. Because believe me, you get something. You get Google Freaks, you'll get something. It won't be that old movie, I guarantee. It won't be the first thing that comes up. But Freaks is Maxie. Do you remember?
Yeah, Freaks is fantastic. It's an old Todd Browning movie, the guy that did Dracula.
Okay, and this isn't it from the 30s or something?
Yeah, I want to say 32 or 34. Black and white, really amazing film. Yeah,
and I mean, and I'm not saying it to ridicule the people in the film, but nonetheless, and I don't think the movie actually did either, right? Didn't the movie kind of?
No, I mean, these were people who were at the time making their living as what they called circus freaks, and so Todd Browning used them for the movie, and it's sort of like a revenge picture. It gets kind of dicey towards the end.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, whatever. Either way, it was a whole group of people, and some of the people you see most prominently are like these people with these cone heads. Like, I think they had, like, pinheads. Oh, Tim's like calling pinheads. But nonetheless, it's really weird. That's what this. I mean, I don't know. Between the Star Wars bar analogy and the Freaks analogy and the Cocoon movie analogy, that's what it's like watching this House Judiciary Committee. I mean, these people really are. I mean, Nadler is like really weird and faints and. I needed, please bring me my oranges. I have my low blood sugar. And between Maxine Waters and Steve Cohen, the only thing he has going for him is he's really good looking. Thank God for that, right? Because nothing is better than watching Steve Cohen's face with fried chicken being smashed into it. as he eats. It's about as attractive as watching John Kasich eat a piece of pizza with his mouth open. But anyway, that's what it's like. I mean, it's really weird. And so suddenly we see Matt Gaetz from Florida. He's a Republican, and he's like the he's like the Marilyn Munster of this crowd. He comes out looking like, the most normal guy on the planet. Like, finally, we have somebody who's normal here. I think the Beverly Hillbillies, the girl in the Beverly Hillbillies was kind of like a Marilyn Manson character. But, yeah, he's kind of like the most normal person of all these weirdos. And, boy, does he take on John Dean. So I'm going to have that for you coming up. 844-855-1380 is the calltammy.com real estate listener line.
More Allman in the Morning coming up on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer. Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Still problems with accidents. Now, the one we had on 94 southbound after Mid-Rivers Mall Drive, that one gone. But 141 southbound has 2 right lanes blocked at Milldale Drive. Traffic just getting through in the right lane. We can see it from the jam cam north of Milldale. 270 northbound, Teston Ferry to Manchester. Pretty big backup there. Westbound Bellefontaine to West Florissant, you'll see delays. 55 westbound, 64 to the 5544 underpass backed up, and 6440 eastbound Lindbergh to Big Bend. Traffic is sponsored by Napa Auto Parts. This month at Napa Auto Parts stores, get $25 or more off brand new DeWalt power tools by trading in your old ones. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how. At participating Napa Auto Parts stores while supplies last. Offer ends June 30th. I'm Bonnie Green with your St. Louis Metro traffic on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
All you have to do is kind of go through the Better Business Bureau and just name any home remodeling company, and you'll see that it's fraught with trouble. That's because a lot of these guys get into the business and they've only been there 7 years or whatever else, and their track record's terrible because they don't really know what they do and they haven't established a reputation. But when you look at the amalgamation of experience that Bill and Sam have in the home construction business, I'm talking about the remodeling business, you'll see that the half a century of experience with these guys and Banner Construction being around as long as it has, they've established a really great track record. They've established a real track record of not only credible pricing, credible salesmanship, but also credible work and credible installation and getting the job done on time and doing everything they say they're going to do for you. And so Banner, that's a reason why, for instance, the companies that have these great products, like, for instance, the James Hardie Fiber Cement Company or the Pella Window Company, why they managed to kind of ID Banner Construction as one of the companies they really do want to have install their products. And James Hardie, for instance, they say that Banner is the preferred installer of the James Hardie Fiber Cement Siding, which is amazing. It's a great one. All kinds of different palettes of colors for you, and just an absolutely magnificent products going to last half a century and have insulation qualities you can't even beat by any stretch of the imagination. And the Pella Window guys, same goes for the Pella Window guys. They want Banner to be the installer of their Pella windows. They're a certified installer of Pella windows. So no hard sales. They are the Allman in the Morning backers since the beginning of the show, and I really respect and appreciate their support. And I hope for all of your remodeling needs, whether it be the vinyl siding, roofing, guttering, fencing, you name it, the siding and the windows, Banner Construction is there for you. BannerConstruction.com, 314-569-1050.
Opening soon, the most amazing and user-friendly home exterior showroom in the entire Midwest. Arrowhead Building Supply's new St. Peter's facility simplifies life when it comes to choosing your new home exterior. Our 7,000 square foot showroom features a full-sized home as its centerpiece to give you a full perspective. It also includes the Arrowhead Cube home visualizer, allowing you to see what different products and colors will look like on your actual home before selections are made. Our massive product display wall is 100 feet long and 28 feet tall with more than 50 different roofs roofing, siding, and stone ideas on display. Take the elevator up to the second floor mezzanine and view our show home at roof level. Learn and understand how exterior systems work, such as proper ventilation, and why they are so important to your home's health. While upstairs, visit our beautiful entry door interactive display and make an educated decision for your home's next entryway. Meet your contractor here or just come on in. You won't believe your eyes. ArrowheadBuildingSupply.com.
Dennis Prager, this morning at 11. Now, more Common Sense Radio with Allman in the morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
So I've had the honor of being hung up on by John Dean, and it was in reference to his book, Worse Than Watergate. And this was back during the days of George Bush. And so it's been pretty clear throughout his history that John Dean basically makes an industry out of claiming everything is worse than Watergate. Because when you're a guy basically on his way out, the way you rest in peace is by claiming that whatever you did wasn't nearly as bad as what people are doing now. That's kind of the way it goes. I'm sure you could find guys in prison who are in prison because of murder. But it's like, at least I didn't chop them up and eat them. You know, they're always trying to look for ways that their murder wasn't nearly as bad as the murder of the other dude. You know, it's that kind of thing. So people who are nefarious, shallow, dark souls like John Dean or a murderer will always look for ways to try to make themselves feel better. That's how people who are failures and others do. That's what they do. They tend to turn around and blame other people for their failures. You see it in everyday life, believe me. So this Matt Gaetz guy on the Judiciary Committee finally has the floor, and John Dean's there, of course, because this is the John Dean Show. And so he decides he's going to take John Dean on, beautifully so.
December 30th, 2005 essay written by Mr. John Dean entitled George W. Bush as the New Richard Nixon, both wiretapped illegally and impeachably.
Without objection.
Mr. Dean, how many American presidents have you accused of being Richard Nixon?
I actually wrote a book about Mr. Bush and Mr. Cheney with the title Worse Than Watergate.
So it's
and the fact that and he just admitted it, that he's basically a prostitute. So anybody who pays him any amount of money or gives him any kind of publicity, he'll go and say, "Yeah, that guy's worse than Nixon." And never mind. And by the way, the worse than Watergate thing. The reason why John Dean hung up on me is because I challenged him on that fact. I said, "Why would you not call what's going on now worse than Watergate? You have a vested interest in trying to reshape your historical role in one of the worst scandals in American history. And you're being an accomplice to the crime." And I realize that John Dean's a hero because he snitched, but he still committed the crime.
Sort of become a cottage. Did you make money on that book?
It was a very successful book,
How much money did you make on it?
I'm sorry, I don't have any idea.
More than $1 million?
No.
More than $500,000?
I said I don't have any idea.
How much money do you make from
Why
CNN?
not?
I don't really know exactly. I think I'm going to object to
Wait, how does John Dean not know how much money he makes from books or from CNN for that matter? How does he not know that? It's interesting. This guy is put forth by the Democrats as this unbelievably credible guy, but it seems like John Dean kind of is dishonest just the way he was back in the early 70s, in 73 and 74. The same thing that got him into trouble during Watergate that made him a convicted felon was the same thing he's doing now, which is denying the obvious, which is pretending he doesn't know, which is dishonest. It's being a liar. He knows how much he's made from CNN. How do you not know that? How do you not know how much you've made from a book? And again, it's not like this is the most relevant thing on the earth in terms of how much he made, but Representative Gates is trying to establish a pattern here that John Dean is a prostitute. And John Dean will pole dance for anybody who puts him forth up there to talk about how Donald Trump is worse than Nixon, or in the case of the past, Bush is worse than Nixon, worse than Watergate. But now he's saying this is worse than Watergate. Apparently, John Dean doesn't like the whole wiretapping thing. Unless it's the FBI and the deep state doing it to Trump, then I guess it's okay. The crusader against wiretapping and government scandal now apparently thinks that's okay. We'll talk more about this as Gates takes down John Dean in this You Know What show. Straight ahead.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. The national political spotlight will shine on Iowa today as both President Trump and Democratic frontrunner Joe Biden visit the state, a state that's important to both campaigns. House Democrats expected to vote today on a contempt resolution for Attorney General William Barr and former White House counsel Don McGahn. Some Democrats continue pushing for the impeachment of President Trump. That's something that Mr. Trump says is totally without merit. Wholesale prices barely budged last month, rising a scant 0.1%. Further evidence that inflation remains in check despite the booming economy. On Wall Street this morning, stocks have just opened higher. Moments after the opening bell, the Dow is up 168 points. The S&P ahead 20, the Nasdaq up 83 points. More details at srnnews.com.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
A couple of accidents still causing problems at this hour. We've got a crash on 94 southbound. It's blocking the right lane after Mid-Rivers Mall Drive, and 270 westbound still slow from 367 to Washington Elizabeth with that earlier crash on the right shoulder. You can still see the scene from the jam cam east of Washington. 270 northbound, that has tightened up again. Tesson Ferry to Manchester's your delay. And 6440 eastbound, McKnight Road to Big Bend slows, westbound still good. Traffic is sponsored by ZipsCarWash.com. No matter how often you wash your car, Zips Car Wash has a deal for you. Check out ZipsCarWash.com and save up to 70% on a single wash, or you can get unlimited monthly wash memberships for one low price. Feel good. Head to Zips. I'm Bonnie Green with your St. Louis Metro traffic on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
1380 The Answer. Weather.
It'll be pleasant today with mostly sunny skies and a high of 83. We'll have increasing clouds tonight, the low 63. It'll be mostly cloudy tomorrow and cooler with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm, the high 73. Mainly clear and cooler tomorrow night, the low 56. Partly sunny skies expected for Thursday. It'll be pleasant with a high of 75. I'm Drew Shannon with your St. Louis Metro forecast on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
Across America, it's snoring season. 90 million Americans make this sound every night. If you have a blocked or narrow nose, you're more likely to open your mouth to breathe, causing snoring. Introducing an ingenious Australian invention called Mute. Mute is a comfortable nasal device that helps you breathe more easily through your nose and snore less. Put snoring season to bed, America.
For more information, go to mutesnoring.com. Mute. Breathe more, snore less, sleep better.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details. Need cash now? One of the nation's largest personal loan networks, GetCash.com, is the place to go when you need money fast. All you need is a checking account and a regular source of income. And you could get up to $5,000 discreetly with your computer or smartphone in as little as 24 hours, regardless of your credit history. Get the cash you need fast at getcash.com. That's getcash.com. Getcash.com.
Greetings, St. Louis. This is Matthew Mitchell of the Matthew Mitchell Allstate Agency. Excited to welcome Jamie Allman back to St. Louis Radio. As a longtime supporter and sponsor of Allman in the Morning, my goal as his trusted advisor is to make sure that you are in good hands. With over 70 years of combined staff experience, my team of agents and I know how to make sure that you get the best value for the money you spend on your insurance. Is your insurance company currently hiding behind a website, out of town, or just a call center with no accountability to you or our community? Would you like to speak to the same person every time you call? Is there a new roof on your home? Do you have a teenage driver in your family? Has your credit score improved greatly over the last few years? You can email me at matthewmitchell@allstate.com, or you can call my agents at 855-QUOTE-ME. Folks, there is safety in numbers. Put the power of Allstate to work for you as America's largest and strongest insurance company. This is Matthew Mitchell of the Matthew Mitchell Allstate Agency. Again, the number to call is 855-QUOTE-ME.
Listen to Allman in the Morning with Alexa. Wake up and say, Alexa, play The Answer St. Louis. Now, back to Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Tricked you. You thought I was going to play Hide in Your Shell, didn't you? Hide in your shell. Son of the tune of Dreamer. Can you hide in your shell?
I said, what a day, a year, a life it is.
I saw Supertramp in concert, man. They hardly were ever in concert, but I saw them in concert. Do you approve of Supertramp, Phil? Okay. Gotta get that full approval. They're great, man.
You didn't see them on Breakfast in America tour, did you?
No.
Okay.
I didn't like any of that. I like the old school Supertramp. No.
Oh, man. Wow. Okay. What year did you see them?
Like 77 or something. I mean,
oh my God, that's cool.
That was during the Even in the Quietest Moments tour, man.
You were a kid.
Yeah. Man. It probably was 78 because I remember Eric Clapton came to town in 78 and my mom wouldn't let me go. But I somehow weaseled my way later to see Supertramp. They were good. Don't tell me something's happened to them, because you always follow the... Feels like the Dark Lord of music. If you just ask him whether somebody's still alive or homeless or drug addicted or whatever, he'll tell you. He knows. Keeps up on that stuff. Oh, the mayhem savant. Yeah, man. Sorry, tell you, that whole thing didn't work out really well. It always happens. I shouldn't even ask anymore. Yeah, man, the guitarist, wound up hanging himself in a shower stall. The day's in El Paso. I'm like, damn, really? Oh, yeah. Yep. Oh, man. All right, well, let's get to Representative Gates. I really am happy with this guy. How is it possible that Republicans are having to rely on a 27-year-old congressional representative to tell the truth about John Dean? I mean, how is it possible that we had to rely on this guy all this time? He comes out of nowhere. You ever heard of Matt Gaetz? No. But finally, like somebody calls out this, you know what show there in Jefferson in I keep saying Jefferson City. I don't know why. In D.C. and there's John Dean. Now, here's the thing. As I said earlier with Judge Napolitano, if I'm a Democrat, this is too good to pass up. I mean, you got John Dean out there. I mean, he'll do anything for money. He's a total prostitute. and will completely be there for you if you want to make people worse than Nixon. Because John Dean apparently knows worse than how about worse than John Dean? He committed the crime after all. John Dean was part of the whole cover-up. But because he was able to drop a dime on everybody, he's now a hero. But I'm not quite sure the fact that he actually committed a crime is heroic. It was part of this whole deal. Anyway, so if you're a Democrat and your Democrat Party and all you have to do is just add water to your fantasy show, then John Dean's perfect for it. I mean, I don't blame them for doing it. It's so easy. No one's gonna challenge John Dean in the media, at least. And then what you do is you get the visual up there. You got, the people at the airport running by the TV, and it's, oh, John Dean, things must be really bad. Trump must be really corrupt. There's John Dean. Or, somebody might see it on the news or just like look at a monitor someplace. Oh my goodness gracious. The scandalous activity of Trump administration got so bad, John Dean has had to come out and call him out. The hero has come in on his white horse again. There's John Dean again. I mean, this guy is the biggest strumpet you're going to find anywhere in politics. And he wants to go so he can rest in peace to make everybody else worse than anything he took part in. And by the way, never mind, as I pointed out earlier, that the wiretapping and surveillance of the Trump administration, the Trump campaign, doesn't seem to bother John Dean all that much, even though that was the whole point in Watergate and everything else. But anyway, so in comes this young Republican who finally is doing the work that I guess no other Republicans seem to want to do.
Out of accusing presidents of acting like Richard Nixon, I would like to know how much money he makes based on making these accusations and exploiting them for his own economic benefit. And you're saying that's
Mr. Gates, Mr. Gates, I appreciate you were not born at the time this all happened.
And by the way, why is that funny? Because John Dean, as I pointed out earlier, is probably lucky that Gates wasn't born when this all happened, because he would be more like me and look upon this person as more despicable than even Gates considers him to be. Because I remember those days. And John Dean was a prissy criminal who saved his own rear end by dumping on everybody else, which is fine, but he's no hero, which is why he hung up on me, because I didn't buy into his little hero status as the, worse than Nixon book that he wrote. So I don't know why that's a thing. Like, apparently, he's just trying to demean him because he's young. But I'll tell you one thing, it's thank goodness young people remember just how terrible and dark John Dean really is.
It's not by choice that I've done a lot of this. It's and I've been dragged into it.
Who forced you to accuse George W. Bush of being Richard Nixon?
Who forced me to? It was right after I had spent 10 years in a lawsuit knocking down false statements about what my role had and hadn't been.
Well, let's speak now to the truth or falsity of statements. Do you have personal knowledge regarding the truth or falsity of a single material fact in the Mueller report?
I think if you recall, the first thing I said, I'm not here as a fact witness.
You're here to provide historical context.
So John Dean, even though he said it earlier, John Dean all but admits he's only there as the dangling skeleton that the weirdo Democrats on the Judiciary Committee need to conjure this fantasy that Donald Trump is worse than Nixon. So really, he's just there really as a prostitute. John Dean is really there just as a prop. And John Dean is more than willing to use himself and allow himself to be used as a prop. And for some historical perspective, why? Well, it's because they can. And again, I don't blame the Democrats for doing this. Well, I do blame them for doing it, but you know what I mean. I mean, the Democrats are doing this because they know it works. They know that this is going to backfire on them. What soundbite so far do you think the news media is going to play of Matt Gaetz and his exchange with John Dean? Well, I haven't checked yet. But first of all, I haven't seen Gaetz on any network television show. But if they are going to use his soundbite, which one do you think the news media will choose to play? Just so far as we are about a minute 56 in. Yeah, it's the one where John Dean says that he wasn't old enough. It wasn't born yet. That one.
Exactly.
And throughout history, you accuse presidents of acting like Richard Nixon, and you make money off of it, right?
Not all presidents, no.
No, but a few more
Those
than one.
who do act like him, I pointed out.
Let me ask you this question. How do Democrats plan to pay for Medicare for all?
I'm sorry?
Well, I figured if we were going to ask you about stuff you don't know about, we'd start with the big stuff. So do you know how they plan to pay for Medicare for all?
Who? The Democrats, or which candidate, or can you be more specific?
Let's get specific to Nixon, since that appears to be why you're here. Do you believe...
Well, actually, Nixon did have a health care plan.
Good. Well, do you believe
Republicans
if we
too.
turned the lights off here and maybe lit some candles, got out a Ouija board, we could potentially raise the specter of Richard Nixon?
I doubt that.
Well, it seems to be the objective. You know, here we sit today in this hearing with the ghost of Christmas past because the chairman of the committee has gone to the Speaker of the House and sought permission to open an impeachment inquiry. But she has said no. And so instead of opening the impeachment inquiry into Donald Trump, which is what the chairman wants to do and what I presume a majority of Democrats want to do, we're here reopening the impeachment inquiry potentially into Richard Nixon, sort of playing out our own version of that 70s show. And what I really regret,
it is
Dean,
striking,
is that
Mr.
you're
Gaetz.
here as a prop. You are functionally here as a prop because they can't impeach President Trump because 70% of Democrats want something that 60% of Americans don't. So they're in this no-win situation, and you sit before us here with no knowledge of a single fact on the Mueller report, on a hearing entitled Lessons from the Mueller Report.
Mr. Gaetz, can I answer your question, please?
It's not your time, Mr. Dean. It's my time. So here's the deal, right? We have a false accusation against the President of the United States that he was an agent of Russia. My colleagues on the Democratic side made that accusation. And so where do we go from here? Either we look into how the President reacted to a false allegation against him, or we look into why for 22 months, we allowed a false accusation to tear this country apart. Now, to me, it seems like a far more relevant inquiry to figure out why the FISA court was lied to, something that you have spoken a great deal about, Mr. Dean, to find out why the recordings and the transcripts from George Papadopoulos, where he asserted that he wasn't doing any work with Russia, was not brought before the FISA court. None of that. We also would love to know why the FBI turned from an organization that was supposed to be investigating crimes into one that sought to shape public opinion. You had Comey and McCabe and that whole regime of leadership lying and leaking. And the reason they were doing it is because they didn't really think that the job of the FBI was to investigate and bring cases for prosecution. They thought the role of the FBI was to try to shape public opinion. And that's really why here, and that's what I really think all Americans ought to have an interest in stopping. And you held these views. You wrote them down. You said that illegal surveillance was one of the worst things that we should fight against as a government. And now here we are continuing to engage in this frivolous exercise of going after the president, despite the fact that there was absolutely no collusion. You guys need to get your act together and figure out if you're going to open an impeachment inquiry or not, because this is a straight-up fiction. I yield back.
Yeah. So, Mr. Dean, time to crawl back into your crypt, dude, because you're basically exposed. And I'd never heard of this guy before, this Matt Gaetz guy. I've never heard of him before. I didn't even know he was on the Judiciary Committee. And that's a Republican who I think we can get used to. Somebody who finally, because John Dean has kind of been running around the political landscape for a while now, and Republicans and Democrats all kiss up to him because they say he's a hero and say he's a this. But basically, it was great for Mr. Gates to just call him out as the whore that he is, to finally call him out. I tried to in the interview, and he just hung up on me, but he couldn't hang up on this guy. I'm not comparing myself to this congressman, but you know what I'm saying. He couldn't hang up on him. He had to sit there and take it. And I'm so glad that, I mean, even though Nadler tried to gavel him out early on, he still persisted and was there. So good for Matt Gaetz. I don't know who the guy is. And you know what, Maxie? Let's see if we can get his office, see if he can come on the show with us.
Excellent. We'll do.
And thank goodness for C-SPAN, because this is where it came from. I encourage you, because you're not going to get any of this from anybody. I actually haven't seen much video, but I have NBC on. I have the Fox 2 guys on, and I haven't really seen any other networks. I haven't seen CNN yet, but by my supposition is that in all likelihood they're not playing a whole lot from this particular exchange, and C-SPAN's the way to go. I always like watching speeches and things like that on C-SPAN, because I could get the sense of, I don't really always have that much time, but like to watch that because I get the sense of the real picture, and it's not laundered by the news media, whether it be Fox News or anybody else. The call at Tammy.com, real estate listener lines, 844-855-1380. It's Common Sense Radio.
More Allman in the Morning coming up on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer. Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Well, we're definitely starting to see some improvement on our roads here as we almost close out the rush hour. 270 northbound, that's still the tightest spot. Gravois to Manchester. Westbound is cleared up completely. And the accident on 141 southbound at Milldale Drive, that is out of the way. No delays there. 6440 eastbound, still a little bit snug. Lindbergh to Big Bend. Westbound, you'll see a delay. Kings Highway to Laclede Station Road. And 170 southbound, Forest Park Parkway to 6440 west, a slight delay. Traffic is sponsored by Napa Auto Parts. This month at Napa Auto Parts stores, get $25 or more off brand new DeWalt power tools by trading in your old ones. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how. At participating Napa Auto Parts stores while supplies last. Offer ends June 30th. I'm Bonnie Green with your St. Louis Metro traffic on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
All right, folks, I'm going to turn you on to the luxury vinyl presented by Michael's Flooring Outlet. And there are some people, and believe me, if you want to go big or stay home and you are in a situation where you have the resources to have, for instance, a brand new wood floor, or to go ahead and do the real stone, or to do the real ceramic tiling, whatever, great. It depends on how long you're going to be in your home, and maybe there's a situation where you're going to be there for the rest of your life, and therefore you want to go ahead and invest in that kind of flooring. Or there might be a possibility that you are more into just kind of one rung below it, and that would be the luxury vinyl. And you should see the luxury vinyl examples there on michaelsflooringoutlet.com. You should see the way that the luxury vinyl looks just so much like wood, or so much like stone, or so much like ceramic tiling, whatever it happens to be. And it's just one rung less expensive. That's how it works there. And it kind of depends on what your outlook is, what your needs are, whatever it happens to be. So it's perfect for that look, whether it be in your home or your business. And right now, Michael has some special offers for those of you who are the Allman in the Morning crew, not only on the real stone and the real wood and all that kind of stuff, but also on the luxury vinyl, also on, of course, the carpeting and everything else. So I want you to check it out on the web. Michael's Flooring Outlet is a longtime supporter of the Allman in the Morning show, and he's been around for 25 years now, starting that company with $700 in his pocket. Love telling his story, and love Michael Reynolds and his passion for flooring and his passion for helping you and making sure also that any floor you buy is installed absolutely perfectly. So check it out on the web. It's michaelsflooringoutlet.com. That's
Rick Pogue here. Have you ever wondered exactly how hail forms or how it manages to grow to the size of golf balls, baseballs, or even larger? In a thunderstorm, strong updrafts lift water droplets so high into the atmosphere that they freeze. Once these tiny ice balls begin to fall, additional updrafts push them right back up, making them grow larger each time, until eventually they become too heavy, finally falling to the ground as large hail, and sometimes causing major damage to your home. After severe storms roll through the area and you're left to deal with the damage, call Arrowhead Building Supply for the professional help you need. High winds and large hail can wreak havoc on a home's exterior very quickly, so never neglect or underestimate the possible damage left behind. Arrowhead is the preferred supplier to hundreds of quality contractor professionals who will treat your home just like their own. Don't leave your home's protection to just anyone. Our contractor customers are also our friends and partners. When severe weather hits, call Arrowhead Building Supply for relief. ArrowheadBuildingSupply.com.
Hey, want to talk with Jamie? Call 844-855-1380.
844-855-1380.
And interact with Common Sense Radio. This is Allman in the morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
You know, in case you were wondering how the mainstream media recorded on Representative Gates, the New Yorker magazine said that what you just heard there was a bizarre attempt to discredit John Dean. I don't think that was a bizarre attempt at all. But who cares? If you just use the word bizarre, you can just do whatever you want to. You just make anything up you want to, and it's a bizarre attempt. And they called him a Trump acolyte, which is very interesting considering that Mr. Gates has had very little contact with the Trump campaign and, in fact, is listed as a member of the moderate Republican mainstream partnership since 2017. So he's considered a moderate Republican. So calling him a Trump acolyte, first of all, has no basis in fact whatsoever. And he has called for Robert Mueller to recuse himself as special counsel because of conflicts of interest to that degree. But there still is some element here that there's no evidence. I'm trying to look for anything in his past that would lead him to be described as a Trump acolyte. One of the things it's true though that I think is a good thing is he is Gates. And speaking of Nixon, I mean I'm sure John Dean doesn't appreciate this. John Dean, who worked for President Nixon, who was one of the first green presidents ever. You know, it was Nixon who came up with the EPA and the Clean Water Act and OSHA and all that kind of stuff. He was a big government Republican. And Nixon, one of Gates's proposals was to abolish the EPA. So one of Nixon's gems. So again, this guy's no Trump acolyte by any stretch of the imagination, but that's how it was reported that indeed he was. And that's one of the problems. Again, this can be anything the news media wants it to be. Just throw John Dean up there, and you've got your theater show, and that's what's going on. You see, speaking of creating something out of nothing and just letting the media roll with it, Jim Acosta was not only interviewed on reliable sources. I played that for you yesterday, but he also got a profile on CBS Sunday Morning by this substitute host Mo Rocca, and this was a very nice little profile that Jim Acosta got, and Jim Acosta allowed to basically make anything up he wants to. And one of the things he's making up is the fact that Jim Acosta is somehow in danger. And the book is aptly titled Enemy of the People. He left out the quotation marks, which is a Freudian slip, but he did. Here he is being treated very kindly by the...
You said something from the podium. Was it accurate or not? That's all we want to know.
I work day in, day out with the majority of you here in the room. I think you all know I'm an honest person.
The White House briefing room as battleground.
You're saying something that's just patently untrue. I mean, obviously...
Stating their policy positions is not
Democrats don't...
patently untrue.
Democrats
Miles
don't.
away. That's and not often it's the press versus the president.
One other question. Are you worried?
That's enough. That's enough.
President,
that's enough.
Jim Acosta, chief White House correspondent for CNN, has had his fair share of heated exchanges.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person.
That exchange led the White House to revoke Acosta's press pass. CNN took it to court.
Go back to work.
And Acosta is back on the job.
Donald Trump.
Whether he's a villain, a hero, or something in between, Jim Acosta is not about to take a back seat in the briefing room.
There are two basic criticisms of you, even from some of your colleagues and certainly from the White House. And one of them is that you grandstand.
I'm looking at an overgrown infant.
So at least this guy, Mulroney, even though it was obviously a nice profile of Acosta, at least Mulroney asked the question. Because one thing that's forgotten about this is that Jim Acosta's colleagues don't really like him a whole lot. They believe he has become the story, which is always a grave error for anybody in journalism, is you never want to become the story when you're in the mainstream reporting business. That's not what you ought to be doing, to make yourself the story. So at least that was addressed in there. But for mostly the entire profile was spent boosting his claim that somehow he is in danger as a reporter for CNN, which, of course, isn't true.
Thomason. Wall Street's latest rally rolls on. The key averages moving higher again this morning. The seventh day of gains for the Dow. The market getting a boost from word that wholesale prices rose just 0.1% in May. Another sign that inflation remains in check despite the booming economy.
The Labor Department says the increase last month in its producer price index was half of April's 0.2% increase. The entire gain in May came from a 0.3% increase in the wholesale price of services. Goods prices fell 0.2%. Over the past year, producer prices have risen 1.8%. Excluding the volatile food and energy categories, wholesale prices rose 0.2% in May from April and 2.3% from May 2018.
Correspondent Jeremy House. The full House expected to vote today to authorize a Judiciary Committee to pursue a contempt citation against Attorney General William Barr and former White House counsel Don McGahn.
The measure stems from Barr's refusal to turn over an unredacted copy of the Mueller report and underlying materials, and McGahn's refusal to provide documents and to testify. If it passes as expected, House Democrats could then file a lawsuit asking a judge to order them to comply. A timetable for a court case is uncertain, although Democrats would like to move quickly.
Capitol Hill correspondent Wally Hines. President Trump putting his mark on the federal judiciary.
The Senate voted to confirm Rossi Alston to be U.S. District Judge for the Eastern District of Virginia. That brings to 70 the number of Trump District Court nominees to take their place on the federal courts. The Senate also confirmed 2 conservative-minded jurors to the U.S. Court of Federal Claims.
That's Senate correspondent Bob Agnew. And looking at the Wall Street numbers now, the Dow is up about 111 points. The S&P 17 points higher. And the NASDAQ Composite Index currently up 64. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
We're looking at just a few leftover delays out there. 270 northbound. That was the first one, and we still have it. Gravois to Manchester is where things slow down. 6440 eastbound. McKnight Road to Big Bend is slow. Westbound, it's Kings Highway to Laclede Station Road backing up. A little bit of a tight spot on 170 southbound. Forest Park Parkway to 6440 west. We've got midday road work today that starts right about now and lasts till 3. Road work on eastbound and westbound 6440 on the Boone Bridge. Traffic is sponsored by TrueCar. Looking to buy a car? Online shopping can be confusing. Not anymore with True Price from TrueCar. Now you can know the exact price you'll pay for the car you want and see what other people paid for it too. When you're ready to buy a new or used car, visit TrueCar to enjoy a more confident car buying experience. I'm Bonnie Green with your St. Louis Metro traffic on 1380 and 105.3, The Answer.
1380, The Answer. Weather.
It'll be pleasant today with mostly sunny skies and a high of 83. We'll have increasing clouds tonight, the low 63. It'll be mostly cloudy tomorrow and cooler with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm, the high 73. Mainly clear and cooler tomorrow night, the low 56. Partly sunny skies expected for Thursday. It'll be pleasant with a high of 75. I'm Drew Shannon with your St. Louis Metro forecast on 1380 and 105.3, The Answer.
Dana Lash.
Kids need to realize that the world is not going to be wrapped in bubble wrap for them. Kids learn through play. There's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, you suck at this, Tommy, but Johnny's so much better than you. But you know what, you're better than Johnny in some things, and Johnny sucks in some things that you don't. Stop teaching kids that everything has to be absolutely positively equal. What the hell is this phrase, athletic privilege? Shut up. Gosh, stop shaming people for being good at stuff.
The Dana Show. Weekdays at 1 on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Business owners, self-employed, part-time employees, are you struggling to pay your bills because you no longer can afford your health insurance? Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. With Obamacare premiums skyrocketing, higher deductibles, and shrinking networks, let me introduce you to Dryden Camus Insurance Agency as the answer, the solution. Dryden Camus Insurance Agency has non-Obamacare ACA-compliant plans that do not fund abortion. There's no enrollment period, and you don't have to pay for expensive extras like pediatric dentistry or maternity care. Contact Joyce at Dryden Camus Insurance Agency and start saving up to 60%. Call 877-695-0245. That's 877-695-0245, or just go to kddi-ins.com. Cut through the confusion and save money with Dryden Camus Insurance Agency, serving Missouri and Illinois. This is the answer. This is the solution. Dryden Camus Insurance Agency. Just go to kddi-ins.com.
This hour of Allman in the Morning is brought to you in part by Dr. Anna Smith. Come see what your smile can be at Dentistry with TLC.
Common Sense Radio with Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Give me land, lots of land, and the starry skies above. Don't fence me in. Let me ride through the wide open country that I love. Don't fence me in. Let me be by myself in the evening breeze. Listen to the murmur of the cottonwood trees. Send me off forever, but I ask you please. Don't fence me in.
I've gotten my reports from some of you that there are no trannies in Guys and Dolls this time around, so thank you for your updates on that. I was concerned because you never know with the Muni how things are going to roll, and I mean, if you could make a production where Judas is the star of Jesus Christ Superstar, why wouldn't I fear that there's a possibility that the guys would be gals and the gals would be guys and dolls at the Muni? But no, I like these. I like it. Go every season. My mom and dad-in-law, they have tickets that are great seats, and so I'm always privileged to be able to go, but I can't. I'm trying to get CBS News on here, for crying out loud. See what these goofballs are up to, but I can't on my little clicker here. Yeah, I'll tell you what. Maybe if I throw the clicker at the TV, it'll work. You think? Think that'll work? Maybe I just break out my .45 and shoot it. You think that'll go to CBS News? Oh Lord, I'm gonna see what that is. Let me see what that is. I do know that clicking over to CNN, what you're getting this morning is the story about Joe Biden going to Iowa. And apparently President Trump is going to be there too. And Biden apparently is going to slur his way through an evisceration, apparently, of President Trump. At least that's what we're being told by CNN. In fact, the headline on the CNN, and this is CNN News, okay? And again, I realize that I'm not telling you anything new, that CNN is a biased news organization. I get it. I mean, you're like, oh, well, so why do you keep acting like this is such a surprise, Allman? You always are talking about how CNN is this. But, you know, the more we expose these guys, I mean, for what they are, which is basically just an arm of the Democrat Party, the better off we are. But CNN, it doesn't matter, though. Like I said, with the pictures of John Dean, you don't need to know what he had to say because people are just going to jump to conclusions like, oh, this must be bad because John Dean's up there. John Dean has come out of retirement to attack Donald Trump. This must be bad. But CNN relies on their cut lines, their little subheads on their news features because they know that's what people are seeing. Because rarely in any public forum, in any public setting, let's say an airport or maybe even sometimes even a waiting room or a lobby, that generally CNN is only on, but you can't hear it. So CNN really accomplishes a lot in with their subtle bias, which is not so subtle really, by just putting headlines up that you're going to read as you're walking by it. Or you're going to read as you're sitting there waiting for the plane. Or that you read as you're waiting to check in or do whatever, or name any other lobby. And CNN normally is the choice of most people in business or whatever it happens to be. Most people that don't get it. Because they think MSNBC and Fox are the two diametrically opposed channels. And so they think CNN is kind of the mainstream news thing. That's what people believe. I mean, hell, they don't even put on CBS or NBC or ABC because, well, first of all, they don't have news programming all day long like these other ones do. But still, it's interesting how CNN is perceived to be the middle of the road thing, the middle choice between MSNBC and Fox, when in fact all CNN's talent is at trying to pretend they're really not MSNBC when they are. And so that's what they rely on. They rely on people just visually seeing the headline. So you're going to see a headline that says Biden to eviscerate Trump in Iowa speech today, and that's all you're seeing. You don't even know exactly what's going on there. And why that is on a mainstream, why that's a headline on a mainstream news organization's TV is beyond me, but it is. So here's what they're talking about here. And by the way, I still don't get the whole Iowa thing. President Trump, by the way, trounced everybody in Iowa. And considering how we, again, don't have 1 ounce of evidence that the China tariffs has had 1 ounce of impact on anybody. Not one. Because believe me, if they had any evidence, other than people just thinking it was going to be harmful, we'd see the evidence, wouldn't we? We have not seen 1 shred of evidence that the China tariffs have made 1 shred of difference in the lives of a farmer in Iowa. Not one. We haven't seen layoffs. We haven't seen price increases. I've yet to be told by the mainstream media or anybody else just how much my grocery bill is going up because of the tariffs, because they can't tell you that because they're not going up. So again, this idea somehow that President Trump is unwelcome in Iowa, and I guarantee the mainstream media will find some farmer out there who by the way, is going to be getting a check from the government at the end of the summer for participating in the trade war. There are very few people who get checks at the end of their service to war, in a war. Anyway, this is the CNN celebrating this whole thing. The upcoming evisceration of...
right, in a state that Obama won twice, a big switch, to try to persuade them that they've been suckered by this guy. Now, the president is going to say 3% unemployment. What's wrong with that? Why do you want to turn back from that? That's not going to be an easy argument to refute. That's what he's trying to do, but that is not.
And Biden's going to say, where did that 3.2% start from? Where did it originate from? And that started from...
He uses the Obama name.
It started from the Obama...
They're going to use the Kaysen tactic and every other liberal tactic, which is to act as if this is all Obama's doing, which is completely, patently false. Even the news that I told you this morning about hiring, which is now at the all-time highest levels it's been since the Labor Department started keeping count. And by the way, in that story I told you earlier, there's not 1 ounce of evidence that tariffs have had any impact at all on hiring in this country. And during the Obama administration, I'll point this out again, public sector job growth grew well past private sector job growth. And what do I mean by public sector job growth? I mean government jobs, which is kind of a loss for us because we're the ones paying them anyway, so we're not making any dough off of this whole operation. Under President Trump, private sector growth is far exceeding public sector growth, and those are matters of fact. And so I know that the CNN people stepped in and dutifully mentioned that this is all Obama's doing, and what's-his-face, Tubin, at least seemed a little bit fair about how it's hard to refute the argument that there's low unemployment, but they continue on.
Administration and the recovery that the Obama administration had made for years before from the greatest financial crisis since the Great Depression.
Yeah, I mean, the meager jobs numbers from last month could help Joe Biden's case if he says that, things are starting to...
So Allison Camerata just lied to you. As I look at a headline here that the hiring hits record high in the United States. So since... that harpy decided she was going to just directly lie and talk about meager job growth, I'll correct her here. The increase in the number of hires, 5.9 million in April. That's not the increase, but that's what the number of people hired rose to. 5.9 million in April, the highest since the Labor Department began tracking new hires. The increase in the number of hires came almost entirely from the private sector, which increased hiring by 217,000 for the month. The total number of job openings rose to a higher than expected 7.4 million. A slight decrease from March's revised 7.4 million, but still near record highs. I'm actually going deep into the numbers here. 7.449, that's 7.474. The manufacturing sector showed no signs of trade-induced stress. Job openings in manufacturing climbed to 504,000, up from 460 in the prior month. A year ago, there were 450 manufacturing job openings. Now there are 501,000 manufacturing job openings. How is that Obozo's doing? How could you possibly say that's Barack Obozo? Unless you are just simply in the tank for the guy and you're on CNN. The April figure matched the all-time highs hit in August and November of last year. Durable goods manufacturing, these are people who are making ovens and making washing machines and everything else. Trump's critics all said, that's going to be terrible. These Chinese tariffs are going to kill you there. They were down 1,000 jobs to 304,000 from March, but they were up considerably from a year ago. So balance it all out. So they're down 1,000, but up from a year ago. So you can't say that is meager. You can't say that's a rolling back. You can only say that things have improved markedly since President Trump has instituted many of his economic policies. It's easy to see. But Allison Camerata talks about meager job growth, everything else. We'll see what Joe Biden slurs today, if we can decipher it. But we'll see how this whole thing goes. We'll see how Joe's going to deal with that. By the way, speaking of Joe Biden, did you see this piece of video? And it's Biden claiming that politicians basically, and I was going to play this for Mark yesterday, I forgot about it, but that politicians do more good than doctors. And he said Indian chiefs. I don't know where he gets that, but I don't know, Indian chiefs? This is 1975. Come on, I mean, you know what was going on then. The Indian War and all that stuff. So here's Joe Biden from 1975. And by the way, he was 30 years old, and boy, he must have been. There are a lot of people, I'm sure, thought this guy was insufferable. Here you go.
We spend a lot of time talking about the United States being a melting pot. Well, that's true.
Do you get it? He's 30.
But quite frankly, I think it's overrated. We've been able to move forward because of politics. And in my opinion, politics need not necessarily be a dirty word. Politics should be the most honorable of professions.
Yeah. This is a guy who is just about to, at the age of 30, dive directly into the swamp and not come up until right about now. And all throughout that entire time, he's swimming in that swamp, feeding on all the algae and doing whatever else. And now he comes up out of nowhere obviously to run for president, not really necessarily out of nowhere, but you know what I mean. But this guy's already talking about the preeminence of the state at the age of 30. He continues here, though.
Those of you who are doctors and lawyers and Indian chiefs in the audience, how can any of you possibly do as much good if you're very good at what you do as I can do if I'm very good at what I can do?
Man, that's a statement. So Joe Biden at age 30 is essentially saying that even though you're a brain surgeon or even though you are helping people with cancer, or even if you are solving the world's problems, you can't medically or whatever else, you can't nearly do what I can do if you just give me all the power I can have. So politicians can do more good than doctors can. Age 30.
You can't. So the point is, this is where the action is. Politicians happen to affect everything that affects you.
Yeah, this is a budding statist right here, man. This guy's about to wander into a life of addiction to government and the state.
Are very well aware. And if we bring down a great political party that should not be blamed for what happened, we begin to bring down a system. And if we bring down the system, unless you've got something better to replace it with, we're in trouble.
Yeah. Don't bring down the system. Now, obviously, he's being protective of the Republican Party. This is post-Watergate. So, to Joe Biden's credit, he's protecting the Republican Party to a certain degree. But now you see kind of what these guys are thinking. That's why Democrats and Republicans are no different. They'll do anything to save each other and keep themselves in the status that they're in. This is at age 30, this dude is already calculating the importance of both sides working together to make each other relevant and not make anybody disappear. This is age 30, this dude. So this guy has a life of this. I'll continue on with this because this is really interesting. This is a definite, nice little insight into the mind of a young statist who is about to enter into a life of government addiction. Amazing. 844-855-1380. Call Tammy.com. Real estate listener line.
More Allman in the Morning coming up on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Hi, this is Jess with Razorback Armory, and spring cleaning time is here. It's time to go over your revolvers, pistols, rifles, and shotguns. Knock off the dust, dirt, and grime, and get them cleaned up and ready to go. We carry a full line of cleaning products and accessories to get your firearms back into tip-top shape. Don't have time to do it yourself? No problem. We offer a wide variety of cleaning, preservation, and restoration services to fit your needs. Stop by and see the pros at Razorback Armory, located just east of 270 on Manchester Road in De Pere, and online at razorbackarmory.com.
Matthew Mitchell and the Matthew Mitchell Allstate Agency. And Matthew was in last week telling us about the situation regarding some of the crazy storms we've been having. People are finally kind of at the point where they're tapping into their insurance policies, whether it be car damage you might have suffered or whether it be home damage you might have suffered. You're finally, actually, that policy that you paid for with your premiums is finally starting to kick in your mind. So what is the result of that? Well, you might be discovering that your deductibles are high. And you kind of didn't realize that because you were just focused on the premiums, right? As long as they were low, you were fine. But you realize that when it comes to premiums and when it comes to especially high premiums, what you're seeing in many ways, shapes, and forms is a situation where you might have low premiums, but your deductibles are high, and that's not helping you. It's helping the insurance company because they like it that way. That's how they make their money when they get your premiums but don't ever have to pay you out anything. The Allstate Agency is a different animal. They're one of the largest publicly traded insurance companies in the world. And so they have a large portfolio. They have a bunch of clients, and they have a lot of wiggle room. So they can do both low premiums, low deductibles. They can do the young driver program that doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. They have life insurance programs for you as well. So if you're finding out that your insurance policy isn't so great, then I would go ahead and get Matthew, 855-QUOTE-ME, 855-QUOTE-ME, to take a look at what you got right now, and I guarantee you he'll find ways he can improve upon it. 855-QUOTE-ME.
This is Scott Ferguson, the Director of Outreach at St. Matthew United Methodist Church in Belleville, Illinois. If you're presently looking for a church home, we would love for you to join the church family at St. Matthew. We have 3 Sunday morning services, the 8 a.m. traditional service, 9:17 is our contemporary service, and the 10:45 a blended service with a full choir and orchestra. You can find additional information at our website, stmatthewumc.org. We'd love to see you on Sunday morning.
Larry Elder, tonight at 5. Now, back to Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
So it's fascinating to watch the birth of a statist, the birth of a swamp creature like Joe Biden. At age 30, basically giving up everything that seems to be mapped into his DNA. This is kind of like if you compared it to like a movie or something. This is watching like the egg crack and watching this wet little swamp creature come out of the egg, you know? And once they come out of the egg, they're scurrying into the swamp. And you can, if you should imagine whatever they always do with that weird sound they do whenever they have monsters, right, Maxie? You know, when they like this wet little monster. You know what I mean? Whenever
Sound just like them.
Well, you know, whenever they give like birth, like you know how it is, like they give birth to some like monster or like in some kind of monster movie, it's always them coming out of an egg and they're wet and just like dripping whatever that stuff is off of them. This is what you're seeing in Joe Biden. You're seeing this in full action. Talking about how politicians do more good than doctors. We can't let the Republican Party die, which I guess is a good thing at that time. Because, you know, you don't want to mess up the system. Because the system is important. Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to upset the apple cart.
as you are very well aware. And if we bring down a great political party that should not be blamed for what happened, we begin to bring down a system.
No.
And if we bring down the system, unless you've got something better to replace it with, we're in trouble.
We do, you.
And I, for one, don't have anything better to replace it with. And I, for one, also take great offense at 30 years old achieving a life's ambition to seek the highest elective office with one exception in the land, and the prestige of that office, to now be put in the perilous position of being labeled as a thief or a crook like the rest of those politicians.
Yeah, all that hard work at 30 years old, after what I've been through, says Joe Biden, like a campaign. How dare you call me anything but stellar and amazing?
And I resent it.
Boy, this guy must have been insufferable as a young. Can you imagine a 30-year-old talking to you like that? Lord have mercy. That must have been misery to be around this kid at age 30. Let me tell you something else. I haven't worked this hard to come here to seek the highest honor. He's like, dude, you're 30. Shut up. After all I've been through, how dare you not say I'm the most perfect being, better than a doctor? Oh, man. He sounds like a sober W.C. Fields, doesn't he? My little chickadees. All right, people. 844-855-1380 to call Tammy.com real estate listener line.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. Wall Street's June rally continues. Key averages moving higher again this morning. It is the seventh day of gains for the Dow. The market getting a boost from word that wholesale prices rose by just 0.1% in May, a sign that inflation remains well in check. The full House expected to vote today to authorize the Judiciary Committee to pursue a contempt citation against Attorney General William Barr and former White House counsel Don McGahn. President Trump is putting his mark on the federal judiciary. A total of 70 Trump District Court nominees have now taken their place on the federal bench. Looking at the Wall Street numbers, at the moment, the Dow is up about 120 points. The S&P 500 index trading 15 points higher, and the NASDAQ Composite Index currently up 60 points. More details at srnnews.com.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Still a couple of issues with slow spots. 270 northbound just about clear. Doherty Ferry to Manchester. That's what's left of your delay there. 170 southbound tight. Forest Park Parkway to 6440 west. 6440 eastbound, you're slow. McKnight to Hampton, and westbound it's Hampton to Clayton Skinker. And the Dorset Midland Bridge over Lindbergh remains closed with roadwork until the end of August. 255 westbound, your right lane closed on the JB Bridge until further notice. Traffic is sponsored by TrueCar. Looking to buy a car? Online shopping can be confusing. Not anymore with True Price from TrueCar. Now you can know the exact price you'll pay for the car you want and see what other people paid for it too. When you're ready to buy a new or used car, visit TrueCar to enjoy a more confident car buying experience. I'm Bonnie Green with your St. Louis Metro traffic on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
Hey, ladies and gents.
1380 The Answer. Weather.
After weather,
It'll be
thank
pleasant today with mostly sunny skies and a high of 83. We'll have increasing clouds tonight, the low 63. It'll be mostly cloudy tomorrow and cooler with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm, the high 73. Mainly clear and cooler tomorrow night, the low 56. Partly sunny skies expected for Thursday. It'll be pleasant with a high of 75. I'm Drew Shannon with your St. Louis Metro forecast on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
How dare you, Drew, interrupt the system I've created here. We don't want you to interrupt the system. It's going to do a little spot for Michael Proctor. How dare you? I've worked so hard. I worked so hard this morning to get to this point where you're going to interrupt the system. Thank you, Drew. Sorry I interrupted you there, buddy. Good morning this morning. Michael Proctor, Proctor spelled like Dr., ProctorDrapery.com. Did you know, as you were going to see, this gorgeous robotic shade? Yes, indeed. Manufactured by Hunter Douglas. Not just Hunter, not just Douglas, but Hunter Douglas. That's the two that you're going to need to make yourself look like James Bond, or at least feel like James Bond in your home or your office. Look at this beautiful shade, brought to you by Michael Proctor, Proctor spelled like Dr., ProctorDrapery.com. It's just one of the things that Michael offers you as the premier window treatment guy in the St. Louis area. And let me tell you something. Nobody beats this guy in value. Nobody beats him in convenience. Nobody beats him in the level of his eye. This guy's an interior designer, too, okay? So if you are looking for high-end but full of value window treatments, Michael Proctor, Proctor spelled like Doctor, has them for you. So the Hunter Douglas shades, great. The Norman shutters, the side panels, the valances, the hardware, everything is impeccably chosen, and everything is beyond compare when it comes to variety. So no matter what you happen to think you might like, or maybe you see and thumbing through a Southern Living magazine or something, you want something that you see there, he can get it for you. And he's got great ideas, too, because he's an ideal guy. And he also makes things really convenient for you because he drives right up to your doorstep, and he is there 7 days a week, too. So if you need him on Saturday or Sunday, he's there for you. Right there with Proctor Drapery. Proctor spelled like Doctor, ProctorDrapery.com.
Dennis Prager sees a huge trend that leads to a crumbling society.
4 in 10 American children are now born to unmarried mothers, up from about 5%, that's 1 in 20, in 1960. I would say the majority of people under 40 would respond, so what?
The Dennis Prager Show, weekday mornings at 11 on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer. Breaking news, stimulating talk.
This hour of Allman in the Morning is brought to you in part by Dr. Anna Smith, the #1 provider of oral sleep appliances in the United States. Learn more at cpapsucks.com.
Hey, don't just listen to Allman in the Morning. See the show at theanswerstl.com. Now, more Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Everybody, good morning this morning. Yeah, this is a rare glimpse into the genesis, the birth of a dyed-in-the-wool committed statist in the form of Joe Biden. And keeping in mind, of course, that he's 30 years old here. So this guy is like preternaturally political. And at 30, normal people are kind of cutting their teeth in the world and maybe getting a job, maybe trying to run a business. I don't know, doing whatever. But very few people just go right into politics. And I get it that there are some good people who've come out of that kind of vibe, but you can tell Joe Biden has been basically raised to be this 30-year-old obnoxious statist that he is at this particular juncture in 1975, and where he's come now. So this guy basically doesn't seem to have, and that's the unfortunate thing for him now is, as you'll see him slurring through his speech today, your muscles, including your synapses, tend to atrophy when all you do is get driven around in SUVs your whole life and never have to really do anything, shop, think, whatever. So, and I know he takes the train. I know, yeah, get it. But when you listen to him talk like this, you see this is why you have the political structure you have. This is why you have Democrats and Republicans throwing you under the bus when it comes to jobs, when it comes to open borders, when it comes to trade deals that screw the American worker. This is why you've had decades of not one finger lifted to reform the tax structure in this country until President Trump got in there. This is why you have, for the past 2 decades or 3, you had nothing done about regulation. You've only had it piling up. So, and why, for instance, we still fund Planned Parenthood, even though we've been told by Republicans that was their first priority, is defunding Planned Parenthood. All these things. But I'll go back a little bit here and get to him where he said, "Let's not." This was about Nixon.
A life's ambition.
This is about Nixon and the Republican Party and how we don't want to destroy it, and that's good for a Democrat to say, I guess. But keep in mind, this guy's 30, so he doesn't like the idea that people are suspicious of politicians in the wake of Watergate. And first of all, he's like, "How dare you? Because I can do more good than a doctor can do. If I have all the power and you give a doctor all the power, I can still accomplish more than a doctor does with all the power." That's like, wow, man, you're 30, dude. How can you possibly talk like that? And this is a guy who has no appreciation for people who've gone through medical school or done whatever and picked up their doctor's licenses or whatever. And so he just believes getting elected and being in Washington is where it's all at. I'll go back a little bit because I think you need to hear
for what
more.
happened. We began to bring down a system. And if we bring down the system, unless you've got something better to replace it with, we're in trouble. And I, for one, don't have anything better to replace it with. And I, for one, also take great offense at 30 years old achieving a life's ambition to seek the highest elective office with one exception in the land, and the prestige of that office, to now be put in the perilous position of being labeled as a thief or a crook like the rest of those politicians. And I resent it. Your senators resent it. And I think we who are in elective office have an obligation not to play the game with it. You know, I think that there's no way you can get around it based on what's happened so far, and I'll get off the subject. That what has happened so far has been confined to an administration. It's been in other administrations, and it will probably be in future administrations. But the classic definition of politics, as I learned it, the classic definition of politics as I believe it, is to temper power. That's the whole reason for our system of government.
It's interesting how he talks about the whole reason politics is to temper power. But you realize what he's talking about there. He's talking about the same thing de Tocqueville talked about when he was so offended by Andrew Jackson. It's not the temper power of the politicians, which is pretty clear there, that he has no intention at age 30 of going into politics and tempering the power of politicians. He just announced he's more important than a surgeon. It's to temper your power is what it's all about. And it doesn't take long after you've been in political philosophy in D.C. or whatever to start to adapt this kind of vision that in order to control the political structure, you must also control the people, and you must also temper the power of the people. And de Tocqueville said the same thing when he talked about the jealousy of the states when Jackson was rising. And he didn't like that. They didn't like this idea that people who weren't landowners, for instance, didn't have a voice. But you forget that right before the election of 1824, the only people who could vote at that time before that were people who owned land. So, even our founding fathers at some point were swampy in that regard because there were just a certain kind of people that could vote. I mean, heaven forbid you were just some blacksmith someplace and you didn't have any land, you couldn't vote. It's pretty crazy in America. But even the best of us sometimes fall into the swamp and get to that level. But the tempering power thing is tempering you. That's what this whole why these guys are hemorrhaging like bleeding stuck pigs right now. Still 3 years after the election of Donald Trump, they lost everything. They lost their grip on you. The media lost their grip on you. Foreign governments lost their grip on you through a compliant, butt-kissing president. And so everybody's angry, except, of course, us and President Trump. But everybody else, not everybody else, but the exceptions I'm making, are upset because they don't control you anymore. They don't like that the people of Festus had something to do with the election of Donald Trump. They wanted the people of New York to have something to do with the election, not the people of that wasn't what we meant by states' rights. And again, de Tocqueville said the same. And you know what? I look back on that. I know people are thinking it's heretical to attack de Tocqueville, but he was a statist himself eventually. And he, they like to talk about these lofty issues of preserving the democracy. It's funny how we hear from George Will and all these supposed sages about the importance of our institutions and democracies. First of all, people don't go to the polls voting to preserve institutions. That's one of Hillary's problems she had too. Is she was running on the preservation of institutions? Like, what is that? And so nobody kind of got it. So you have some guy in there coming in and saying, "I know what I'll do. I'll reinvigorate the American working class." Like that, people understand. But preserving institutions, people don't really understand it. Even if you do put it in some country hick or black voice, the way Hillary did, that still doesn't. People still don't understand it. But yeah, it's the tempering power of you. That's how this whole thing works. 1975.
We all came here, with the exception of a few of my brothers who were forced to come. We all came here because we didn't like it where it was.
Laughing at slavery.
Because power had corrupted. And because we were going to build a system that built into that system the inability of power and too much of it to reside in any one place.
Yeah. Except in Washington. You like the joke about slavery? Yeah. With the exception of a few... W.C. Fields sober. With the exception of all of you, my brothers and sisters, who came over here by force. You mean slavery? Yeah, slavery. Yeah. That's Joe Biden. So we'll see what this character says today in Iowa as the media awaits his big takedown of President Trump. We'll see how this whole thing goes down. And because they'll be cheering him along. That is for sure. And again, I don't really understand how Iowa and I get that they're the first ones out of the blocks, but man, let's get over this whole Iowa New Hampshire thing. It drives me crazy. Also, the latest, talked to Bridget Van Means yesterday around this time about the Planned Parenthood clinic. So right now, the only abortion clinic in Missouri can stay open, with this judge issuing a preliminary injunction saying the state must make an official decision on the facility's license before it can be reviewed. So what they want the state to do is basically say we don't want it renewed, and court documents already showed that state officials say they did not renew because they were unable to interview 7 of its physicians over potential deficient practices. So why weren't they able to interview, and these doctors are all from, apparently what Bridget said was from WashU, why weren't they able to interview 7 of the physicians? I mean, let me ask you this. I mean, I don't know much about doctors or clinics, but how many clinics out there do you know who cannot be interviewed? Like, let's say somebody had a question for a state official entity had a question for my friend Dr. Naputi. You think Dr. Naputi could just be running around not answering questions from people? Because Dr. Naputi is an honorable guy and he's licensed by the state and everything else, he's accountable to them and he knows that. So why aren't these people accountable? Maybe that's a problem. Maybe that's another reason why the facility ought to be shut down, because the doctors aren't accountable. The injunction issued by the Judge Michael Stelter said Missouri must make a final decision by June 21 on whether or not to renew the clinic's license to perform abortions, which was due to expire on May 31st before the decision can be reviewed. So the state, and this is where they need to start, whatting or getting off the pot, the state must make an official action in order for Planned Parenthood to be entitled to review. That seems fair enough. I don't know why the state hasn't done that yet. They say they haven't interviewed the physicians yet. Where are our people in the Republican Party or beyond who are demanding it? I don't know. He also wrote that the state's Administrative Hearing Commission and not the Circuit Court has exclusive jurisdiction and authority to rule on any decision denying the clinic's license. So that's where it's going back into the state, which I think the judge made a defensible legal decision here. I mean, Planned Parenthood welcomed the ruling, but as far as I'm concerned, that seems to be the judge is simply saying, look, guys, if you don't want this clinic to stay open, then make your case and present it to the proper people and close the damn thing and do it. Don't make me do it. I'm a judge. I don't blame them for that decision. 844-855-1380 to call, Tammy.com, real estate listener line.
Live from the Arrowhead Building Supply Studio, this is Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Rick Pogue here to tell you that real beauty is on the outside. I'm referring to your home, of course. We all want the most attractive home on our block with the very best curb appeal. Presenting the Outside Elegance Collection by Arrowhead Building Supply. Simply put, Outside Elegance is your answer to giving your home that luxurious appearance without the huge price tag. Arrowhead's Outside Elegance Collection features all those products you've dreamed about having on your home but never thought you could afford. Products like metal roofing that looks just like shingles, slate, or tile with a lifetime warranty. Composite slate roofing that looks just like the real thing at a fraction of the cost. James Hardy fiber cement siding with the beauty of wood but the strength of cement. LP Smart Side engineered wood siding with the look and feel of authentic wood siding but also a 30-year finish. Provia manufactured stone. Yes, you can afford stone on your home as well. We have many colors and profiles available. If you need a contractor, Arrowhead services the very best professionals. Visit our incredible showroom near you or call and request a free catalog. Our home's appearance says a lot about who we are. Now is the time to make a bold statement. ArrowheadBuildingSupply.com.
All right, friends, let me tell you something about my buds over there at MyPillow, and this is the offer for now. Here's the deal. You can get 2 pillows for the price of 70 bills, which is really great. It's a great price. It's a price that you normally won't get just by not listening to Allman in the Morning. So what you do is you go to mypillow.com/Jamie, drop my name, and you're getting 2 pillows for the price of $70, and that's a great deal. $35 a pillow. You can't go wrong with this really comfortable, cool pillow from MyPillow. Also, don't forget about the sheets, 30% off when you drop my name as well. And you are getting the sheets that are high thread count, comfortable as heck, and they are luxury seats, the kind of you'd find at a luxury hotel. So check it out right there on the web, mypillow.com/Jamie.
KXFN, St. Louis, K287BY, St. Louis.
Greetings, St. Louis. This is Matthew Mitchell of the Matthew Mitchell Allstate Agency. Excited to welcome Jamie Allman back to St. Louis Radio. As a longtime supporter and sponsor of Allman in the Morning, my goal as his trusted advisor is to make sure that you are in good hands. With over 70 years of combined staff experience, my team of agents and I know how to make sure that you get the best value for the money you spend on your insurance. Is your insurance company currently hiding behind a website, out of town, or just a call center with no accountability to you or our community? Would you like to speak to the same person every time you call? Is there a new roof on your home? Do you have a teenage driver in your family? Has your credit score improved greatly over the last few years? You can email me at matthewmitchell@allstate.com, or you can call my agents at 855-QUOTE-ME. Folks, there is safety in numbers. Put the power of Allstate to work for you as America's largest and strongest insurance company. This is Matthew Mitchell of the Matthew Mitchell Allstate Agency. Again, the number to call is 855-QUOTE-ME.
Joe Walsh, tonight at 8. Now, more Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Sorry, I just was playing video here and was looking at this video while the music was playing, and so it canceled out the music. But this is another example of an incident that probably won't get a whole lot of mainstream media coverage because it's not a Trump supporter attacking somebody. It's a left-wing transgender attacking Trump supporters. And so apparently, again, not only if you're a left-winger, you're free to commit any act of violence you want, or a left-wing politician, you're free to condone any act of violence you want. But if you're a leftist and you're transgender, especially, that gives you the daily double to just be whatever monster and hag you want to be. So there's this transgender actor, apparently, especially if you're Hollywood, or if you're Jussie Smollett. You ever heard of him again? No, you didn't. Lying, corrupt, race baiter Jussie Smollett has gotten away with everything. Not any punishment, not nothing after all that. Pretty amazing. Anyway, now we've got India Moore. She's a transgender actor who stars on the FX cable show Pose. So on Friday, he was filmed in an altercation with Trump supporters in New York. Shows him stomping on "Re-elect Trump" signs, then trying to steal it. If you look at the video, it's great video because the person who's holding the sign isn't taking any crap from this, whatever it is. And two other men who were friends of Moore were kind of part of the whole thing, too. And then everything escalated. So this thing was filmed stomping on a Trump supporter's sign, then was trying to run off with it just across the street from Trump Tower in New York City. Just there last fall. The star was of the FX Pose. I've never seen, I don't even know what FX is, but was filmed stepping on a sign that read, "Re-elect Donald Trump, keep America great 2020." In the video, the incident, Moore is heard saying that he didn't want Trump supporters as fans of his show. The guy's name is Dion Cini, the guy who owns the sign, and it was with a small group of Trump supporters who recognized Moore, actually. I don't know what these guys do watching Pose. What is that show, anyway? Is that a Pose? Is that a show about transgender people? But anyway, they wound up speaking to Moore about the series. I don't know how that whole thing rolled out. The Trump supporter tried to grab the signs out of Moore's hands after he grabbed it, but he wouldn't let go. And Cini, who's this guy who lives in Manhattan, said that he allowed more to step on the sign because it was supposedly indestructible. It's one of those. It's one of those fold signs, you know, with the. It's like a hula hoop type of thing, you know, and it folds out and folds in. And so you could, it's like a visor that you put your, you know, that has that kind of thing. So you couldn't really destroy the sign anyway. But when he tried to take the sign away, City says he tried to prevent Moore from taking the sign away. And then the police came, and of course, obviously, no arrest made. There never is. And so they just basically let the people go, and let the attackers go. And so this guy, Cini, is cool because he goes out there every once in a while, has these pop-up demonstrations where he takes the Trump 2020 signs out there and stands across from Trump Tower. And again, if this were, well, let's just put it this way. If this were transgendered people holding signs for Joe Biden or any other Democrat candidate, and Dion Cini decided he was going to go and take the sign away, this would be the lead story on every single newscast, including Fox News. It would be the lead story. But instead, you're going to find this story at the Daily Mail. You know where that's from? Britain. So that's where you're going to find this story, in a UK publication. You know how many news outlets there are in New York? ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, Fox News, New York Post, New York Times. And not one of them covered the story. Yeah, we had to have some Brits cover it for us. Pretty amazing. All right, folks. Tomorrow, Jimmy Carafano right out of the blocks. It's Common Sense Radio. Have a great rest of your day.
News this hour from townhall.com.